Yeah, we're live. We live, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, what that thing do, baby? That's me. That's me. My Watto voice for streaming. Hey guys, we're here to talk about PlayStation 2024. It's me, BoTalksGames. I'm joined by Watto. Hey,
Lotto, hey. I think we're live.
I think so. Yeah. Happy Perfect Dark Zero Day to everyone. Everyone who celebrates.
I just went black. The cameras are black.
What?
I can't see us on the stream. I can hear us, but I cannot
Okay,
see us.
Is it better now?
What did you do?
I clicked on.
It might take a few seconds. Oh, that might be it.
Hold on. Do I have to have?
You might have Discord up.
Did this make it go away again? Okay, hold on.
It's still catching up. Okay, now yeah, you have that Discord up, I think.
Okay. If it's still good, then because I have I have to have OBS. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out.
He'll survive.
I was gonna you know what I was gonna do? I was gonna share the stream link. The people of the fucking world.
Discord up, I think. So we're here to talk about Perfect Dark Zero, guys.
Yeah.
Sergeant Joanna Dark. How are you liking it so far? I played that game when I was like 7 or 8 because my older brother Lucas would have bought it, but
you guys are gonna see.
I don't remember
the BLB server for a second while I share the link.
Oh god.
Okay, we're good.
He's gonna see your secret goon chat. The
What?
gooning channel in the Backlog Banter server.
No, there is a secret channel. It's just video planning. Where we can, like, send like links and stuff for when we're recording, but otherwise. Oh, holy shit! I could pull up the stream on my laptop here. This is way better than a 2-monitor setup. It's a 2-computer setup.
Just two completely different computers.
Yes. It's so much better. All right, and I'm just gonna make sure. Wait. Oh. Okay.
Did you tweet it out?
No, but I could. You know.
Well, if you decide to tweet it out, I'll retweet it. But if not, it's fine.
Yeah. What do I have? Why do I have a Discord notification? Oh, it's Guniji chat.
Yes, Caleb. Mr. Sea Dog. Why is he not in the stream chat yet?
Talking about PlayStation's 2024. No, we're gonna add a superlative. Insane 2024 with Mr. at BoTalksGames.
Mr. BoTalksGames. Right now I'm in the chat as It's Amiibo.
Oh, whoa.
Oh. Sometimes it's confusing because like I have It's Amiibo, but then I have BoTalksGames, but then I have the original BoTalksGames before I made that new channel.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll be logged in on that because that's like where all my subscriptions are. So.
Oh. Like
one of these days I just need to like
you actively watch videos.
Yeah, we're actually like watching YouTube. Yeah.
I have my old email. That's but to this day it's the one I still use to watch videos just normally. So
oh my god, we have Dan Parr in the chat.
There should be technically there's 3 watching. You, me, and Dan Parr. Hey, you know what? We're built. You got to start somewhere. Come on, Sea Dog. We need a.
He doesn't like when I call him his username. So Dan Parr, I'm gonna keep calling you Dan Parr. Gonna keep calling you your full gamer tag.
Here's the thing. The truth is Dan Parr is it rolls off the tongue nicely.
It does roll off the tongue nicely.
It's a satisfying little username there. What does the PAR stand for though? Parboiled? Parish?
He's a big golf head. Going for the par, you know?
Oh, interesting. Oh. Alright.
Nice par.
Nice on. That's
nice on.
That's one that always gets me. It's like, yeah, I did
get
it on.
Nice on.
Because here's the problem. You can't do it quite. Because you have that way that you pronounce, like, the O, like, aw. Like, you got a little tinge.
On.
Nice on.
Nice on. Nice on.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. The on.
On. Hey, what's up, Rico Lee?
We got Rico Lee in the chat.
This is huge.
I saw.
This is big.
Rico Lee leave a comment the other day, but his like YouTube @ is like Ricky Lee, and I'm like, oh, his name is actually like Rick. It's like the Rico or the Richard or something like that. Ricky. I don't know. Like it just like awoke something. Like, well, this is a real name.
Yeah, it's weird when you're like
And I'm like, that's not a
when
word.
When you're in YouTube Studio, you see like a secret username.
No, well,
Have you noticed that?
Their at is, right?
You're right, yeah.
Like the Backlog Banter channel is Backlog Banter 0, at Backlog Banter 0. For some reason, I had to slap a 0 on the end of there.
Who stole? Oh, well, I guess you yourself stole it?
I guess.
Because you made the new account?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, do you know what the, you might. Do you know what the Backlog Banter email address is?
I don't.
It's Back Issue Banter. Because that was the
yeah, you told me about that, yeah.
Was a comic book discussion channel. And we recorded exactly one comic book discussion.
And then he realized that's
later, but we made a show called Back Issue Banter.
Wait, yeah, it's still up. You can still watch it on the BLB archives.
Yeah, it's a
23-minute video. Yeah, we love Kate Bishop.
Yeah. It's a review of like the first volume.
Got Tanner and Abram in there. Yeah.
Back Issue Banter. That wasn't the first video. That was not even close to our first video. But
right. I didn't even know it was still up.
When we made the channel, it was supposed to be me and Abram talking about comic books. And I think that there's a chance that Abram has only read like 5 comic books in the 5 years that we've had this channel. He just stopped reading, which is fair enough. I dip back into comics like once a year, probably, for a little bit.
Yeah, if you remember, I was talking to you like, I don't know, 6 months ago. I was trying to get into it.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It did not happen.
Fine.
I tried. I gave it a try. I really wanted to, but it's too much.
It is a lot. Well, we have a lot to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, because PlayStation survived the year 2024, a calendar year. We have games that released. We have studios that were closed. We have games that were unreleased. We have games that were announced. And we're kind of going to be going through this bit by bit, month by month, and covering like the major news, state of plays, game releases, talking about our thoughts on them. And then as the year sort of comes to a close, as we talk about it, just sort of the year as a whole, because there were some crazy highs and crazy lows and everything in between. I really do think this is one of the most interesting years that PlayStation has had. Not certainly the best, but one of the most interesting years PlayStation had in a while, because the PS5 generation has been pretty stock standard. But we really covered the entire gamut of like all the experiences that you could possibly have as a PlayStation fan in 2024.
Yeah, it's a weird year because I feel like so many people will say, "Oh, this is one of the worst years Sony's ever had." Yeah. But when you actually break it down, I mean, they've released a lot of stuff. I mean, you don't even have like, Sony wasn't involved with this necessarily, but like 7 Rebirth was exclusive. You have Rise of the Ronin, which no one really cared about. Stellar Blade, which had its audience and also had a lot of outrage when it released. You have a lot more PC releases than I realized. Yeah. This is the year of like them really catching up on PC releases of the PS4.
They are gen stuff. The PS4 gen and even PS5 to a certain degree.
Pretty much called. I mean, Spider-Man 2 just came out like yesterday.
Yeah, and Last of Us 2 Remastered is coming out soon, and Rise of the Ronin is coming out soon on PC. And
I thought it was already on there.
Well, they announced Last of Us 2 Remastered PC at the Game Awards, so it might already be out.
No, Rise of the Ronin. I thought that was already out.
Oh, no. They just announced that like 2 days ago, the PC port of that. You're right. But they're very close to being caught up, because there's also a lot of almost every PC release last year was a day-and-date PC release, or at least over half of them. Until Dawn, Lego Horizon, Helldivers, Concord, Starblade didn't. Horizon Remastered might have been day and date on PC.
Yeah, it was because Horizon was already on PC, just the original version.
Yeah,
Stellar Blade will probably get an announcement for it. Honestly, maybe
they're working on it.
I can see that being in the state of play.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. Yeah, they said they're working on it. So
Concord was day and date.
It was. Good job, good memory. So yeah, PC, but like they're very close to being caught up completely with like all modern PC PlayStation published games being on PC. I think Gran Turismo 7 and Astro Bot.
Is GT7 not on PC, really?
No.
That's the one that makes the most sense.
I mean, I just never tried, I guess. I don't. I mean, someone's got to.
No, yeah, there was a thing. There was a thing a couple days ago. Yeah, Demon's Souls not in development for PC. GT7 no longer coming to PC. This is a rumor, but
why? Why would that be?
Yeah, why would they? I mean, Demon's Souls, whatever, but Gran Turismo 7. I feel like the PC sim people, they're on PC.
Yeah.
Or racing sim people, they're on PC.
So yeah, I really think it's for stuff that is this generation. I think it's just Gran Turismo 7, Astro Bot, and Destruction All-Stars that are not on PC. Which is a really interesting little smattering of games there.
Demon's Souls, best PS5 game.
Oh, and Demon's Souls. Yeah, good point. But let's
also on PS3 though, technically.
Yeah. Let's start in January. Or you know what? Do you want to go over the stats at the top first? So in 2024, I just was like pulling together as many numbers as I could. Sony laid off or fired or closed studios of 900 people. 900 employees of Sony Interactive Entertainment lost their jobs in 2024, insane. Which is crazy. They released.
How does that what other companies have laid off that many people in games in the past? Like, I assume Microsoft would be up there just because of sheer amount.
Microsoft, Activision, yeah, like they're all in like around that.
Like in that 1,000 range.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't want to say that for certain. I haven't actually done that much of that research myself.
Right.
But 900 is a lot of people, and we're talking about PlayStation today, and of course we'll get to some of those with studio closures because that makes up a big chunk of that.
Yeah. 3 studio shutdowns.
Yes, 3 studios shut down. Yep. They released 10. Wait, why do I have 8 and then 10 PC games? One of those numbers can't be right.
It was 8 PC games and then 10 PS5 games, I believe. What was the number?
Oh, yeah, I just spelled.
Right, well that makes sense because of Rise of the Ronin and Stellar Blade.
Correct. Yeah. But also some of the PC games were older games, like Ghost of Tsushima and God of War Ragnarok were also this year. And we'll get to those. 3 studios shut down, 2 games released for Nintendo Switch, and 1 game released for Xbox. So that's interesting. We'll talk about those games as we get to them. And I also have 7 games revealed, which is across the.
A lot of those already came out.
That is true. Well, a couple of them did.
I'll say like half, more than half actually, right? Because Until Dawn. I mean, I guess we'll go through it piece by piece, but Until Dawn, Astro Bot, Lego Horizon.
I think it's 3.
And is it just 3? Okay.
Yeah, because then.
Well, would you are you counting remaster reveals? Because we're counting Until Dawn, then Horizon.
Oh, you're right. Horizon. You're right. That is another one. Or actually, I'm not sure if I counted that. But Fizzant obviously hasn't released. Ghost of Yote hasn't released. Intergalactic hasn't released. I think that adds up. Okay, you're right. It's a little over half of the games announced. And then there's also the kind of announcement that they're publishing Midnight Murder Club. I don't know. We'll get to that. Like,
no one cares. No one cares.
Look, I'm just being thorough, okay? Here's the honest to God truth. In the same breath, I feel like people say 2 things, and I really feel like people should be a little less hypocritical. It's like, man, I really wish Sony, published a wider variety of weird stuff. Like, remember back in the day when they had all these random IP that they were involved with and different kinds of games? Why is it all like just the big games now? And then they're like, Midnight Murder Club? What's that? No, fuck off. That's not real. Don't count that. But it's a game that they're publishing.
Well, I think the issue with that one in particular is that it's a multiplayer game, which we don't.
That's true. Though then there are people like, oh, bring back Warhawk, bring back Mag.
That is true. Come on. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true. Warhawk and Mag, I don't see that.
Bring back
Resistance, Killzone, SOCOM. Those are the ones.
Bring back Fat Princess.
Hey, Fat Princess is goated.
I actually never played those games. And
it's a fun game.
You can't anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, I think they're shut down, yeah. I only ever played the first one, but then there was like a Vita game, and then there was also a PS4 one, I think. They weirdly made a couple of those. Yeah. Well,
in January of 2024, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered released. Bo, did you play Remastered? Or no, you played.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I played Remastered. Yeah. So
that was your first time.
I don't know why. It? Yeah, I'd never even played it on PS4. I don't know why. I just skipped it. I played Ghost of Tsushima that year. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's not true. I played that on PS5 also. But yeah, 2020. I guess I was really, really busy. I was working retail at the time, so and 2020 being that year, I just was not playing games really that much. So Last of Us, I skipped at that point. But yeah, I played it back in, I want to say June of 2024, so a few months after the remaster when it was on sale for like $40.
Yeah.
And it's a great game, great remaster. There's some really cool like director's content stuff there that I've never really seen before, where you can play through just like a beta level.
Yeah.
And it's really beta. All the animations aren't right. Some of the like the dialogue isn't obviously like finalized. It's very cool. I would like to see more of that stuff in games. It's a neat addition.
Yeah,
I did not try the roguelike mode. That's not my thing.
Oh, interesting. Well, that is obviously a big part of
right. Yeah, for me that's not. The thing is, like, I don't play Naughty Dog for like the gameplay. The gameplay is good. The gameplay is good, but I'm not like craving like a roguelike mode. I don't know. That's not.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm here for. There are definitely some people who like get really into the gameplay of the Last of Us series, like we're like.
I've seen some insane videos.
And stuff like it's good stuff, but I think The Last of Us Part 2 remastered gets too much hate because the idea of a remaster of a game that is at this point less than 4 years old at the point it released is it kind of a joke, but
I expected it sooner. To be honest,
because Last of Us Remastered was 1 year later,
right? And that's the only reason. Well, and I think the only reason it took Part 2 so long is because of Last of Us Part 1 happening.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I think they just had to space them out.
Yeah, because Naughty Dog was managing all these projects simultaneously, presumably. But Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, I think, is actually a pretty good standard to set for including director's cut, behind-the-scenes content, having some commentary, having that extra mode that's not available, having the beta levels obviously being enhanced in certain ways, but like it's minimal. You can't really tell to a layman what kind of tech stuff is going into that. But also, you can get it for $10 as an upgrade if you own The Last of Us Part 2. And so all of that, I think, you have to contextualize it around, this is a great game that won Game of the Year. There's actually a lot of new stuff in there that people, don't really count because it's not like a story expansion. But I think it's very much a worthy remaster. And like 4 years later is like, to me, that's fine. That's fine. 1 year later was a little ridiculous, but 4 years, I mean, come on.
Well, for Last of Us Last of Us 1 remastered, I'm not going to say Part 1 because that's a different thing now. For the first game, when it got remastered on PS4, that's a little different because it wasn't backwards compatible. I think a lot of the ire for Last of Us 2 is like, well, you can already play it. Yeah. But to your point, it's only a $10 upgrade. If you are a diehard Last of Us fan and you just want to check out this new content, roguelike mode, director's content, like $10.
Yeah, that's $10 worth of
can't really go wrong there. And then if you haven't played it, like I didn't even own Last of Us Part 2 on PS4. I think, like I said, I got it for like $40.
Yeah.
And like the June, they usually do like their days of play sale. That's when I bought it. So like that was fine for me coming in. So I think you're right. I think this kind of is the standard to sets, even though I understand why people are like kind of just annoyed in general that it just feels like the ratio of remasters to new games is completely skewed. And I think that actually is true. If you do the math, I think there are significantly more Sony remasters than new games this gen.
That's
not
true, but it's
is that not true?
No,
right, it's closer than it should be. It's closer than it should be.
Yeah, well, because it depends on what you define. Like Legacy of Thieves is a collection. Those are PS5.
Oh, I'll count that. I would absolutely count that.
So, why don't we do it? Why don't we do the math? Demon Souls. That's a remake. Ghost of Tsushima director's cut. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves. Death Stranding director's cut. Yeah. Last of Us Part 1. Last of Us Part 2 remastered, Until Dawn, and Horizon remastered. So we got 8. Yeah. And for new games, I'm not going to count MLB The Show, but that like adds like 5. Sackboy, Miles, Destruction All Stars, Returnal.
Well,
Ratchet.
Not to stop you here, but I think another layer of it is that most of the games that are technically PS5 games are also PS4 games.
That's a good point. Oh, actually, okay. Well, there's
so if you only count PS5 stuff, you're looking at what? Astro Bot, Spider-Man 2, Returnal,
Destruction All
Stars,
Ratchet and Clank, Stellar Blade,
Rise of the Ronin,
Lego Horizon, Helldivers. Is Helldivers on PS4?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. But
so that's 8. We're at 8, I think.
8.
So it's the same amount.
GT7. No, GT7's question.
No, that's on PS4. Yeah, that's on PS4.
Yeah, and we're finally reaching the point where they're not really putting out PS4 games. I think actually last year
2024 was like the final, like, let's get it all out.
Well, I guess it was 2023. They didn't put out any PS4 games other than MLB in 2023.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, it is close. True PS5 exclusives, not cross-gen, versus remakes or remasters collections is about on par. And of course, we don't actually know of any upcoming remakes or collections or stuff like that. So, and everything else so far they've announced is new stuff. So that obviously will tip back in that other direction. But that is,
we'll see. I could see. Well, God of War 2018 doesn't have one.
That's true.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Days
that's
Gone, we've
interesting.
heard
Yeah.
rumors of. Gravity Rush 2, they're gonna do that around the time of the movie. Like, I don't know, man. We should be done. Bloodborne should be happening.
That's true.
But that's one. But that's one people want.
Yeah, yeah. And if they want it, it doesn't count.
That's true.
So that was, we're talking a little bit about the context of remakes or remasters in 2024. But there also was a January State of Play last year that I usually forget happened. Because it was just like it was like trailer for Stellar Blade, it's coming out soon. Trailer for
it was a big deal for Rebirth fans. I feel like Final Fantasy fans. That was like where you got like a really big like final push trailer for that game. Until Dawn, I think, was rumored at that point.
Yes,
but
it
like
was. Yeah,
I think out of every PS4 game they brought over, Until Dawn is the most questionable, and I say that as someone who loves that game, especially now when we'll talk about it later, I guess. But the actual quality of that game is not the highest. That is a really questionable one. Obviously, they did it because the movie's coming out, but that I feel like is almost like the perfect example of what is wrong with Sony's output this generation of just like no one asked for Until Dawn, man. You can say like okay, Horizon remake. That's a people like Horizon, people like Last of Us. Until Dawn, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I say that's someone who likes the game. But come on.
Yeah, no, totally.
Let's be real.
Yeah, and that also, you're right. And it had been rumored or leaked or something like a couple of weeks before, and so it wasn't even like that exciting of a moment. And then technically Fizzant was the closer. There was also a major, Kojima like a 7-minute long Death Stranding 2 where they revealed the name of that.
Was that the last trailer that we got? I think so.
Yeah,
that was a really good trailer.
Oh, there was.
That's the one with like the flaming guitar and like the little puppet.
Yeah.
And Norman Reedus with gray hair. That's a really good trailer.
There was also not a trailer, but like there was the info at TGS.
The
photo mode and stuff. But then we ended after that long Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Remember, it was like on the blank, and then it ends with on the beach. We're like, god damn it.
Abrams said to turn my audio down.
Oh, okay, I can do this.
Just a little bit, or turn yours up.
I'll turn mine up a little bit, or I'll move my mic a little bit closer. All of these are good options.
I'm just screaming into the mic.
Well, because you got heated about Until Dawn.
Big Until Dawn hater. Very, very passionate about Until Dawn.
But what do you make of Fizzant? I don't think you and I have actually ever really talked about this game. Game is a strong word, by the way.
Right. Well, that's the thing. So we don't really like. It's going to be some sort of movie cross media thing. Yeah. Have we established if it's going to be like? It's gonna be a video game. It's gonna be it's it is his Metal Gear Solid basically.
Yeah. It's Kojima's Metal Gear Solid.
It's his own Metal Gear. He finally gets to have his own. Are the movie aspects of this gonna be in the game that you pay $70 for, or is it gonna be a separate thing?
It's unclear. So the only information that we have about it is that it's a tactical espionage game produced by Kojima Productions, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Columbia Pictures. What that means in terms of cutscene filming or a film adaptation somewhere around the same time, maybe even at the same, like literally the same day, I don't know, is yet to be confirmed. I'm sure they're still working that out because this, and as they mentioned when this game was announced, it wasn't going to start any real production until they finished on the beach, which is fine. That makes sense. And then there's also still OD cooking in the background, but this is, I think it's an interesting one because it does show that they still want him in their ecosystem. As Death Stranding, the IP of that was like reclaimed by Kojima Productions, and then the publishing rights are now like fractured with 505 and stuff. Clearly, they're like, no, we still want Kojima. Like, we want to be the home of Kojima. He's making an Xbox game, but you know what's interesting? OD, I guess, might be a multi-platform game. Probably will be.
That's true.
Well, actually, no, but if it's utilizing the Xbox Cloud technology,
it'll definitely be on PS5.
Yeah, they'll find a way.
It'll definitely be on PS5.
But you know what? I will say I think this year with our 3 major announcements, Fizzant, Ghost of Yote, and Intergalactic, and I guess Astro Bot to a certain degree, those 3 games are like, this is what the generation is going towards games.
Sure, yeah, we talk a lot about like that big showcase that has the roadmap for Phase 2 of PS5. I guess we kind of got it this year. It just
over
wasn't
the course of the year.
One big moment.
Yeah.
My issue with Fizzant, and I think the reason we hadn't really talked about it before is because there's not much to talk about.
No.
You're right. It is cool that they're making sure Kojima stays there even after. I mean, this was this only a month after OD was announced, or was that a full year?
OD was the. Oh no, you're right. Game Awards 2023. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it was only a month later that we had him announce Fizzant.
That's interesting. I
feel like as a way for Sony to be like, listen, Kojima's still ours.
That's a good point.
It's cool to see him doing more new stuff. I mean, I'm glad this basically means Death Stranding 3 will not be happening. Or at least not for the foreseeable future. Just get some more stuff under Kojima Productions' belts.
Variety. Yeah.
It'll be cool in 2030. I just have no expectation. I mean, knowing Kojima, we'll probably still see it like next year. He's still just gonna have a CGI trailer for it, but we won't be playing this thing until. I mean, this is a PS6 game. Like, actually, unironically, this is a PS6 game.
No, totally is. Yeah, because On the Beach took 5 years, and this is not going to take less time.
I mean, On the Beach might be taking 6 years, right? Because that was
2019. Oh no, you're right. 2019 to 6 years. Yeah, so I mean, 2031 maybe. Or even further, it depends on how far into OD they are. Like, I don't know when that game's actually supposed to come out.
Right, because they said they're going to focus on, or they're going to start Fizzant after Death Stranding 2. The reality is they might focus on OD for a little bit more. Yeah. And then start Fizzant.
Yeah, it depends on what OD
even is.
What really depends on how much creative control Kojima wants of his stuff, which is obviously a lot, knowing the guy. But I think there will reach a point where, unless Kojima Productions just will cease to exist without his involvement, he has to start adding responsibility to other people so they can manage a wider variety of projects under that banner that he still is a producer on or a writer on or something. But we don't know what this is going to be, how this is going to evolve. His studio is only 9 years old at this point anyway, so it's not like we don't have a huge track record to go off of. But Fizzant will be very interesting. Now here's a question: you think that's the real name of the game? You think it's a final name of the game? I doubt it.
You think so?
I doubt it, and here's why. I don't think we know that when it was announced, Death Stranding 2 was known as DS2, and so far the other game is called OD. The rumor is that that's called Overdose. I don't know if you remember the older rumors.
I'm sure it is Overdose.
I think he has a track record of announcing it with a code name. Which for DS2 is fucking stupid.
But DS2 and OD, if it is actually just Overdose, then I mean, they're code names, but they're really just acronyms.
But maybe
Fizzant means something else.
I don't know. Unclear. But it's a big project. It is a big announcement. I feel like it went under discussed because you're right. It does feel like such a far away thing. There wasn't a ton of information there. But this is when we have to start keeping in our minds as Death Stranding 2 starts to come out, and knowing Kojima, how early he likes to start showing off things and confirming things. This is something we could seriously get information about this year. Maybe this is a Game Awards trailer or something like that. A teaser trailer or something.
Game Awards, I could see that, yeah.
So, even though it is probably a PS6 game, it's something to certainly keep in the back of your mind, and a big deal in 2024 that we started to get that roadmap, as you were saying. Starting in February, here's the big release of the year. Helldivers 2 releases on February 8th. You and I played a little bit of this game together. My only experience with this game is you and Abram put it on a harder difficulty than I wanted, and so I just kept dying and dying and dying. I couldn't do shit. I couldn't do jack diddly because I'd never played the game before.
I think that was the appeal of Helldivers for me. I didn't play it much beyond that. I probably have maybe 15 hours in it, so I guess a couple sessions without you.
That's a good amount.
But
I probably played 2.
The appeal of Helldivers for me was just the absurd difficulty of it.
Sure.
And the comedy. I mean, it's Starship Troopers, so it's supposed to be funny. It's comical how the physics of your body flailing around. Helldivers is really cool. I like Helldivers a lot. I didn't put as much time into it as I would have liked. I wish I'd played it more.
Sure.
But this is definitely until maybe you talk about the post-launch support of this game and how I know the community hasn't been super happy with how they've handled it. At the very least, at launch, not only was this the highlight of Sony's year, I would say.
Yeah.
This was maybe one of the highlights of the gaming industry.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, this is the game everybody was on. Yeah. In a way, I don't think we really saw with any other games. After.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
Balatro maybe.
But also, just a difference in scale there, because Balatro.
Right, 4 million sales now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 or 5.
5 million. Helldivers already sold 13 million, and that's Shuhei Yoshida was on Kind of Funny like a week or two ago, and even he was just like, yeah, no one would have thought that this would sell more than Spider-Man 2, and here we are, you know.
Yeah, it's a crazy success because it's definitely a word of mouth thing. I mean, they did a fine enough job marketing it and keeping
I didn't think they tried though, especially when we talk about Concord, you can tell they didn't have expectations for Helldivers. They didn't care. They showed it in State of Plays. They kind of, you know, they were marketing it. They had a controller, I think, around there, but like they clearly were not hyping it up. Yeah. And then it came out and it just blew up. And I think that's
PC.
Right. And I think this is maybe like the ultimate lesson for Sony to learn with their live service stuff. You know, we hear about Concord and how Herman Hulst thought it was like going to be their Star Wars. You can't predict it. You cannot predict a live service game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we saw a lot of that in 2024 across the industry of successes and failures in the live service market. Yeah. Obviously, that's its own conversation of multiple different problems. But Helldivers 2, I think people use, and I think you rightfully brought up the negative or mixed fan reception to some of its post-launch support and updates. But I think on the whole, that is a drop in the bucket of the massive success that Helldivers 2 was. Not only being incredibly well received when it came out, and still being well received. Like, we're talking about like the hardcore community being die-hard community about it, but like the game is still fun, and if you go play it, you're gonna have a great time with it. But on top of that, it had being the fastest selling game that Sony has ever put out. It's one of the best selling games ever, and even recently, because of the success of this game, announced a movie adaptation of Helldivers.
Oh yeah, they did.
And so this is something that clearly they are like leaning into immediately because they see how big it is, which is reasonably smart. It has a different gameplay style than most of what Sony's games are. It has a unique tone. Obviously, there's a nice word of mouth feel to it. I don't love Helldivers 2 myself. Frankly, I feel like I need to give it a bigger time commitment to really be able to like say how I feel about it. But it's the big success story of Sony's 2024. It's not the big story of their 2024.
No, it is not.
But I think that people will like look back at 2024. When you're looking at the lineup of PS5 games, you're like, okay, 2022 Horizon and God of War, 2023 Spider-Man 2, 2024 Helldivers 2. Like this is one of the defining PS5 games, just for how big it is and
absolutely
how big it'll probably continue to be as they work out what the roadmap is going to be, how they're going to support this, and then as we get into the marketing cycle of the movie, like I'm sure they're going to tie in. Maybe that's going to lead into a Helldivers 3. Like I think we're really on the precipice we're in the precipice of Helldivers becoming another pillar franchise for PlayStation.
That's something kind of interesting. I mean, we're going to talk about some studio shutdowns soon, but they don't own Arrowhead.
They don't. Yes.
Which is hilarious considering. Yeah, they don't yet, but you know they're talking. Mm-hmm. So now when a couple years pass, if we get Helldivers 3, that remains to be seen. We probably will since they're doing a movie. But Arrowhead's going to be one to look out for. It's like this is going to be like a major Sony announcement. They're going to prop this up as like a show closer now.
That's definitely
as opposed
true.
to just being
randomly in the middle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And so also in February on the 27th, 900 people were laid off across Sony Interactive.
That was in one day. I didn't realize that was in one day.
So I was wrong earlier, and I should have read through my list a little bit closer. I did these notes like 2 months ago, so this is me kind of doing my own archaeology of my own notes. The 900 layoffs that I mentioned earlier were only on this one day, which was them just like shedding people at different studios. Oh, I do, or wait, was this? No, London was later. Okay. This was like all across SIE, internal stuff, publishing. There was some Naughty Dog, some Insomniac. Like it was just kind of just like across the board. I don't think any one particular studio was hit super hard from this, but all of them were to some extent, which is not great. And 900 in one day is bad.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot of people.
And then again, on top of that, this doesn't count the closures of Firewalk and Neon Koi and London Studio that we'll talk about. And I think there were also some more layoffs later down the line. So there isn't much that we can say about it because, I mean, we don't work at it's unfortunate. This is again a testament to them overexpanding over the course of the last few years, and then having to shed that weight.
I mean that's the thing, right? Yeah, and we can talk and say like, oh, this is so awful, it's so bad for the people. Obviously, goes without saying. It's not a uniquely Sony issue. Like this isn't something that is like, oh, this is Sony really fucked up with this one. This is just how it has gone as these companies ballooned during COVID, as their profits were skyrocketing, and then they obviously leveled back to what they should have been. So this is just, it sucks, but it is the reality of basically every developer and publisher.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're still seeing, not necessarily from Sony, I don't think we've seen any layoffs from them this year. We're still seeing layoffs happen across the industry in 2025. Obviously, we're seeing it in 2023 as well. So it's just going to take some time for this dust to settle, and hopefully it does, if we can stop hearing those stories. But obviously, this 900 shows that Sony wasn't immune to it either. Even though
were there no layoffs reported with the Blue Point and Ben stuff?
Well, I think a couple days later there was like contract workers, or like their contracts are being terminated. But that is like it's not the permanent employees. Like they were going to be shuffling through anyway, so it's a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do have layoffs at some point, because they're still trying to figure out what they're doing. Both those studios are now in a crazy state of limbo. So
probably is doing support for something else. I imagine.
Yes. Both of them probably. Yeah. Moving on to March, MLB The Show 24 releases on Game Pass, PS5, and Switch. Cool.
Did you see it's not on Game Pass this year?
I stipulated that in what is
how much what did Sony do? They were like, we're not doing this anymore.
Well, I think it's probably more on the MLB, right?
Yeah.
Because they built up a fan base for MLB The Show.
Oh, sure. Xbox, now they have to buy it. Yeah.
And now fans on Xbox have to purchase it. Crazy that those games aren't on PC. What do you do? What do you mean?
Are they not?
No. There's never been an MLB The Show game on PC.
That's weird. I don't know, like, what's the Madden audience on PC? Probably not that big.
Is Madden on PC? Here, we're exposing ourselves. We are not.
It'd be on the Origin launcher, the EA launcher.
Madden NFL 25.
Yeah, it's Madden NFL 24 is on PC. Yeah, it's on Steam. Look at the Steam charts.
Okay.
I know this isn't like, I guess I gotta look at Madden here.
I don't know a lot about sports games, frankly.
Madden 25 currently has 5,000 people playing it. The all-time peak was 5,900. Wow, this is interesting. So the all-time peak for Madden 25 is 5,900, but the current playing is 5,400. So it just has a very dedicated base.
Wow.
Yeah. And obviously this came out back in August.
That's crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
I mean, well, I also think that probably indicates that most of the Madden audience is on console. Because, like, that's obviously a great number of users. But, like, actually, here's an interesting thing. Check, you're SteamDB, right? You're using SteamDB?
SteamCharts.com.
Okay, Steam Charts. Check College Football 25. See what the either current or highest peak of that is. What did you say for Madden?
5,900 was the peak. It doesn't look like College Football came to PC.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking. What? Really?
The one that did better.
That's crazy.
They didn't have time. Maybe it's not on Steam charts. I don't think it's on Steam though.
EA Sports College Football 25. It's such a long name. EA Sports College Football 25.
Yeah, not coming to PC. Read it 8 months ago.
Wow.
That's weird.
That'll change. Very weird. That aside, MLB. I'm sure it was good, and I'm sure people enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I'm sure it sold well enough.
I will actually, before we move on from that, I will say, I feel like MLB is the only, as somebody who doesn't play any of these games, I feel like MLB is the only one I don't hear people complaining about, like, oh, it's getting so much worse year after year.
Sure.
Like, I always hear people complaining about Madden, NBA, like I always hear people complaining, FC, like all of them.
Yep.
WWE.
Yeah.
MLB is the only one that seems actually consistent. So I guess shout out to San Diego studio for keeping it real.
Yeah. And like, this is another thing, like in 2025 and nearing the end of last year, I needed to like refocus myself and be like, look, these are video game developers putting a lot of effort into this every year. And like, we besmirch them for it. It's like, oh, it's just the yearly shit. But like, it's not easy to make these games. And so like, I need to be more like complimentary of especially high quality work, which it seems like San Diego is doing. So good on you, San Diego studio. Also in March, Horizon Forbidden West came out in PC. I believe that was one that was like good quality port. We obviously saw The Last of Us Part 1 PC port
The year prior, that was really bad.
We're seeing
And
Spider-Man 2 have issues right now.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2, which I think this is the first time Nixxes has had a miss with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, because Naughty Dog did.
They did Last of Us Part 1.
Iron Galaxy, I believe, did Last of Us Part 1.
Oh, sure, yeah, they did. But Horizon Forbidden West on PC apparently was pretty good. I guess, I mean, there's obviously plenty more PC stuff coming on this list, but I feel like, I don't know if you saw the player numbers for Spider-Man 2. It's like a huge drop over Spider-Man 1. It's even less than Days Gone, which just doesn't feel right considering it's Spider-Man. I feel like it almost feels like Sony is maybe shotgun blasting these PC games too much. Because I mean, we had Forbidden West and Zero Dawn remake in the same year at one PC. Maybe that's not a good idea.
Tsushima. Like lots of open world Sony games.
Right. Well, I was just saying. Well, actually, wait. Is Lego Horizon Adventures on PC?
I think so. Yeah.
They released 3 Horizon games on PC this year or last year.
2024.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's probably too much.
Bo, they released, other than Call of the Mountain, which is a VR game, all of the Horizon games on PC in one.
Well, I mean, and Horizon Zero Dawn's the only one that actually had its original release and a remaster.
That's true.
Come out on PC.
Yeah.
Of all of Sony's games. So Horizon on PC maybe a little
Death Stranding might have, though technically Sony didn't publish the Death Stranding PC version.
I don't think the original version ever. I think it was just the director's cut.
No, wait, really? I thought Death Stranding was like the first Sony game to like hit PC.
I think so. I think it was when director's cut came out on PC.
Death Stranding.
I'm probably wrong. I don't know. You're a big Sony head. Let's see. Death Stranding 2 PC release date.
Death Stranding Windows 2020, July 2020. So that was before. That was before director's cut even came out. So. But
like you said, still not kind of its own weird thing now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So good for Horizon Forbidden West PC. It'll be interesting to see what they do with PC games going forward because we're seeing date and date stuff as we're going to talk about with a lot of the games this year. We already mentioned that with Helldivers II. But they are kind of running out of stuff to bring to PC. So that might help things. If they start doing more day and date and it stops being like so inundated with them, like I mean, 8 PC games in 1 year is pretty crazy. Then that might help.
Well, it's especially crazy if you consider all the live service stuff they canceled. So on top of everything that we actually saw released on PC, there was also going to be all those live service games.
That's true.
So,
yeah, I mean, Last of Us probably would have released last year.
Oh, definitely.
And that would have been PC.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then finally, Rise of the Ronin. We did it. We got there. We got all the way to the end of March where Rise of the Ronin released. This is the first game that I have Prop Comedy for. Here's my copy of Rise of the Ronin that I got for like cheap somehow. And they mailed it to me and it has like a nick on it.
Oh, that's so annoying.
And it's on the spine too. So like even when it says on the shelf. It's really
I bought that game, played it for like 2 hours. My save got corrupted and I just sold it.
You sold the game?
I'm not gonna ever replay this. Maybe like 10 years down the line, but
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing, except I didn't sell it. I played like 2 hours. I'm like, this is fucking boring. I actually think that, I think it's a fine game. It's a fine game.
Yeah.
But it is very stock standard. And this is gonna be one that is maybe reevaluated as a hidden gem. Like, you remember the PS5 exclusive game that was like I mean, they already have Ghost of Tsushima, so what are we doing with another, like, period piece Japanese open world game? But,
I think it's also just, like, in contrast to Wo Long, which got better reviews, and at least from my experience, having not played Wo Long, it just looks way more interesting. Rise of the Ronin, it almost feels like you said, like a stock standard, like, it feels like a PS4 game.
Yeah.
Also. Visually, definitely, it feels like a PS4 game.
And what it...
Not a very impressive...
technically and visually, it's not particularly special. But what it feels like to me is not a Sony game. From the visual presentation, the story presentation.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, no.
The way they
keep engine game.
Yeah, but
here's the thing. Like, I didn't feel the same way about Neo. Like, I almost wonder if you look at Neo and Rise of the Ronin back next to each other, I almost feel like Neo might look better visually, which I know probably isn't true. But that game had so much more like style to it. And it felt like a bigger deal when it came out in 2017 on PS4, and then the sequel in 2020, and then Rise of the Ronin. They probably should have just made Neo 3, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting, especially given the context of this game in the PS5 lineup with Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut and Ghost of Yotei. Like it does feel
And much in between.
it does feel out of place. I'm sure it has its own merits that people do appreciate and will come to appreciate more in the future. But it's something to me that as a fan of Sony's portfolio and the games that they choose to publish, which is really selective at the end of the day, I don't know how this one, like why they chose this one. It just feels wrong, but I kind of like that. I find that interesting. So, it doesn't really matter. And I got it for like $30 or whatever. So it's not like,
yeah, if I see it for like 15, I'll probably just rebuy it for the PS Studio set. But I remember when they announced it, I was like, oh, this means we're not getting Ghost 2. Because I was like, oh, they're not going to do both. But I mean, luckily, we're getting Ghost of Yotei this year. So
yeah, and that game, from everything from its unique style and its presentation that we've seen so far, obviously coming from a Sony studio, it's a little bit different. But that feels right. You look at that key art and you're like, ah. And then you look at the Rise of Ronin key art and you're like, who are you? What are you doing here? Who invited blood? But 2024 is kind of the year of who invited blood Sony games. They just had such a weird smattering lineup that we'll continue to talk about. As we move into April, the next thing was Stellar Blade releasing. I unfortunately do not have a copy of Stellar Blade I can hold up because I played it through my friend's account. But in contrast, I think that game does feel like a Sony game, from the really high fidelity, I think phenomenal art direction. The cutscenes are really well produced. Narratively, it's not on the level of a Santa Monica or a Sucker Punch or Insomniac or Naughty Dog or anything like that, but that game has identity, which is something I think Rise of the Ronin lacks. And I love Stellar Blade. I think it's a really, really fantastic game that got a bad rap because of the people who liked it at launch. But there's a lot of quality stuff there. I think it's a really, really remarkable game.
Yeah, this game really couldn't catch a break, could it? Like everything leading up to it was just like there was just a culture war on either side. That's one I haven't played. I do want to go back to it eventually.
I think you'll really like it.
I played like 30 minutes of the demo, and I was like, this feels high quality. This feels good.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I will like it. I was waiting for a good Black Friday sale, and there wasn't any. So once it's done like 23rd, that's when I'll pick it up.
But in terms of something new from Sony, new IP, full production value, really feels like it taking advantage of the PS5. I think Stellar Blade went underappreciated for a couple of reasons, but I do think that as the game comes to PC, Bo, now that game, that game's
just wait for the PC mods.
Massive PC launch. Holy shit! And they said they're going to work on.
People are buying it just to go into the files. They're not even going to boot it up.
Probably true. But
yeah, that'll do well on PC.
It will do well on PC, and then they're going to probably do a sequel. I don't know if Sony will be involved with that or not. Probably, just given that this was a success for them. And I think they do see that they can build it into something a little bit bigger, like a new franchise for them. So as that happens, I think this game will receive a little bit more flowers in retrospect. But this was one of my favorite games of last year. And I'm okay with saying that, even though like some people are like, oh dude, you like Stellar Blade? Fucking gooner. It's like, it's a really good game.
How could you?
And I'm a little gooner. A little bit of a gooner.
On the side.
In May, Ghost of Tsushima came out on PC. I don't know if we have too much to add on that on top
of I think I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I know that PC launch did well enough that it broke the top 10 on MPD that month. It actually might have been number 1, I think. It was like a big PC success. So I would say I would need to actually compare the numbers. Maybe this isn't true, but I know it's one of the bigger PC successes that Sony has had.
Yeah.
And also I think does show that there is a thirst for Ghost of games.
Yeah.
Maybe versus a Horizon. So happy that did so well.
Yeah.
People were eating it up.
Yeah, and I had some friends who are not PlayStation gamers who got Ghost of Tsushima and they were playing it. And to me, as someone who's very into the PlayStation ecosystem specifically, it for me feels hard to like put myself outside of my own mind and like be like, oh, I'm just like an average Steam user, and then I'm excited for like Days Gone of Ghost of Tsushima. I'm like, no, that's stolen valor. You can't do that. You can't be excited for that. But like, I have friends who played Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima. It's like, whoa. But like, I mean, it shows that the investment in this franchise, Yotei, from what it looks good. It's gonna be a big deal this year. There's a film with Chad Stahelski directing it that is gonna come at some point. So I'm happy for the success, the Sucker Punch success. I hope that like you were hoping with Death Stranding 2, I kind of hope that Tsushima and Yote are like an insular Ghost thing, and we can move on to a new IP after that. I do think it's important for Ghost to get a sequel, and I just because the track record of PS5 games to PS4 games, I usually like them more. I'm sure I'm gonna like Yote a little bit more than Tsushima. But I'm also kind of ready for something new from Sucker Punch. But
it's just because I mean, in obviously Ghost Yote coming out this year, but in a decade we've only gotten Ghost of Tsushima because it's been over 10 years since Second Son came out. I'm looking on this. It's a Forbes article. It says Ghost of Tsushima peaked at 77,000 concurrent players. That is several thousand higher than God of War, which I would assume means that God of War was the previous bar for a single-player Sony game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would they mention? Why would they mention that? Obviously, like Helldivers 2, that's their biggest launch. But it looks like Ghost of Tsushima in terms of like their single-player stuff. Let me see if I can find Spider-Man PC concurrent. Oh, I saw just articles of Spider-Man 2 PC concurrent. I don't care about that. Yeah. I mean, that would be the only thing that would maybe... Oh, that peaked at 66,000. So yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is their biggest single-player launch on PC.
Mm-hmm.
That's notable.
Yeah, definitely. And just does still show, I think Nixus was involved in that one, that they're working on these ports, and there's a variance in success, which I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's a PlayStation game. PlayStation is a popular thing, therefore games must be successful when they hit PC. They must be a big deal. That's not necessarily true. It's a game by game basis. It's how much the community has like built up the hype for this over the years, and obviously, Ghost of Tsushima, big deal for them, and a big deal on PC. And it'll be interesting to see how. Also true, it'll be interesting to see how quick Yote comes to PC. That if it's a middle of this year game for the PS5 version, maybe
I wouldn't be surprised if it's I wouldn't be surprised if it's almost like 6 months. Yeah, I mean we're just gonna keep seeing that gap get closer and closer until it's day and date, in my opinion. So, well, again, I mean, honestly, with how successful Tsushima was on PC, maybe you want to just do it day and date.
Yeah,
right off the bat, that'd be a big strategy shift. Yeah, but I could almost see it.
I think that it's something they probably want to do, whether that is, but I don't think it's going to happen, whether that is because of resources, just Sucker Punches, they don't have a history with developing it. Maybe you pull in Nixes to work on a project a little more.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely do Nexus.
But I also think that there's a chance that they don't want to damage our premier games aren't day and date. You can only get them on PS5. That is
something you really can't go back from. So
once the dam is broken.
Yeah. They're already inching close with all these remakes and remasters that are day and date, but
true.
The single player stuff,
and of course the multiplayer game as well. But also just a few days later in May, London studio was shut down.
Oh yeah,
that is fucking nuts.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
That's one of their oldest studios.
I think it's second to Polyphony. After Japan studio was shut down, London was their oldest studio. They had been involved in all sorts of stuff in lots of new IPs, and they made Gangs of London, The Getaway, the Getaway. They made
they did a lot of PS ever since 2016. They've been doing VR stuff, pretty much.
Well, what was the other thing? I thought they only did Blood and Truth. The VR Worlds.
VR Worlds. They did VR Worlds.
VR Worlds.
And then I believe the rumors that after Blood and Truth, they were working on something else VR, but then that got canceled for some sort of live service.
Yeah, well, we saw some
fantasy game.
Yeah, we saw some key art of the fantasy game, or some concept art rather, not key art. And then because that game was canceled on the 2024 push down on we're not doing as many live service games, then they closed the whole studio, which I think is a mistake because I think not only would I be interested in seeing what that new IP fantasy game from them would have been, not necessarily because of what the studio was before that, but I just new IPs from Sony, like we don't get a lot of them, and this seems to be one that was in development for multiple years and then scrapped. But they could have repivoted that studio to do something else because they had experience in all sorts of stuff. VR games, SingStar, they made iToy games. Like there was talent.
I mean, I'm looking at their list. I do wonder when you like look at all of Sony Studios, how many people there were like really experienced making like a traditional, either an online game or like a single player thing? Because like really, VR Worlds, SingStar Celebration, Blood and Truth, and it says that they work on Erica. Was that actually them? That's FlavorWorks, but they're listed here for Erica.
It might have been involved in some way.
Yeah. But I mean, they really just did SingStar and iToy stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, thoughts with all the devs that lost their jobs and got laid off and everything. But when you look at all the studios that have been shut down, they weren't like Japan Studio was definitely a bigger loss in terms of like creative new stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference is, and you make a good point, is they didn't feel at home in what the new identity of PlayStation Studios was.
Right. This is PS2, PS3 era Sony.
Exactly.
I'm looking at on this list. Yeah.
PlayStation Move, PlayStation Eye, Sony, and then they were doing some stuff on PS4, but you could see them on their way out, and then nothing.
Blood and Truth is good. I played that game.
Yeah,
that's a cool PSVR game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of like the definitive PSVR games. But
one of 3.
Insane that they didn't get out a PSVR 2 game. Why didn't they have a launch game? What the hell?
Right. Well, I think maybe that was canceled for a live service game or something.
Yeah.
PSVR 2, man, what the hell? Why did they release that? Why didn't they just cancel it?
Yeah. I mean,
such a weird choice.
If you're not going to have one of the definitive VR studios make a game for the system you own and you own that studio, then there's clearly a ships in the night missed potential thing going on there. But I think it's unfortunate, not because it doesn't make sense or doesn't like feel like they weren't at home in this modern Sony, but because they, to me, were still the one vestige of Sony's teams where it's like, creative spirit, jumping around between different things, like they're willing to do new IP, stuff like that.
That could be Media Molecule if they would get out some games.
That's true. We basically haven't heard from them in 10 years.
God. Pretty much.
Yeah. We'll see if they make it to the next game. So that's unfortunate, and I mean, it's just London Studio was a sicko studio, and you don't get a lot of those in the PlayStation Studios family, and so like that was a loss to me. But to close out that month, to wash out the London Studio, close her taste from her mouth, there was a State of Play at the end of May that opened with the big Concord full reveal, cinematic trailer, gameplay trailer, developer breakdown, announcement of the beta coming soon, a release date, all of that big, like, out of like a 35 minute...
No release date.
Yeah, there was.
No, it wasn't until it was like a Concord State of Play. I mean, they just said summer, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
I remember it being weird. I remember being like, you're saying it's coming out in summer and there's no date?
Okay, yeah, I guess I misremember.
It doesn't really matter. I'm just
fair enough. Hey, look, when you and I talk, we try to out-sicko one another. Like, nah, this detail, you fucking got this detail wrong.
You're telling me you're wearing the Concord shirt and you don't remember the Concord State of Play? This is ridiculous. Well, I think that happened.
I gotta fact check that. I don't think there's a Concord State of Play.
No, there totally was.
I think.
And maybe I'm just remembering the big presentation.
Yes. Yeah. So
I just gaslit you.
Wait, hold on. Is all of this a lie?
I swear they didn't have the reveal trailer or the release date though. At the very least.
Back.
I'm on the State of Play. Hold on. Pre-order starting June 6th. Oh, was the release date at Summer Games Fest? Is that what it was?
No, Concord was not at Summer Games Fest.
Well, at the very least, there wasn't a date in this trailer and the State of Play.
Okay.
The beta was set for July. That's it though.
Yeah, then it must have just been a fucking blog post or something.
Yeah. Why'd they do that?
I don't know.
They weren't sure yet.
Why'd
they do any of this?
That's what.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll get to Concord. But that obviously set a bad taste in most people's mouths for that beginning of that. We didn't know what Concord was until that day. There was this big Guardians of the Galaxy-esque high production value cinematic that I think intrigued people when they saw that, and then they saw there was a hero shooter. There was two minds of people with Concord. Is it wasn't appealing to them from the cinematic, or then it wasn't appealing to them when it was revealed as a hero shooter. And so then nobody was excited.
I mean, I don't know. I think it might have been rumored, but from that cinematic with that burger falling over, like I certainly was not getting hero shooter Call of Duty type game from anything that I knew about that game. I didn't even like. I mean, yeah, you got like the retro future like Guardians kind of vibe, but even then I didn't think they were gonna lean into it as hard as they did. But maybe we'll talk about more about Concord when we get to August.
But it was an interesting choice, and obviously indicative of where they believed that Concord would be the big game of the year for them, in terms of positioning it as the opener, big like lots of information of it at the start. I would say that a big part of why this game ended up the way that it did is because they condensed that hype cycle so much. There wasn't time to respond to any fan feedback in the development cycle. There wasn't time to get people accustomed to these characters, introduce us to a little bit more of the world over the course of a couple of state of plays.
Like, why was there even a CGI trailer with the burger? Why did that even happen? Why we could have just seen the game. It was only a year ago or a year prior at that point. So like, very weird marketing cycle for this game.
No, it was 2 years earlier.
Was that 2022?
Yeah, the 2022.
Oh, wait, the Fair Games? No, that was 2023 because that's when Fair Games and Marathon were announced.
Yeah, and Helldivers.
That was when they actually it was the PlayStation showcase. It wasn't. They thought it was a big enough event to call it a showcase.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. No, yeah.
So only a year prior, and they just did a CGI trailer. Like they could have maybe dodged a massive bullet had they actually just shown the game.
Yeah, and the development cycle of that game is something that we're still probably going to learn more about. But from what I can recall, it was something that was really kind of put together last minute into like a real solid thing. So it's possible that it just wasn't in like a particularly showable state in 2023, and they were just like, look, we got to get it out.
Right.
But I do think that the condensed hype cycle really did hurt it, and obviously had immediately a sour reaction to that trailer. Most people did. So, but they were able to recover by the end of it. The state of play ended with the reveal of Astro Bot, which had a great reveal trailer, and then released soon after and ended up winning Game of the Year, as we'll talk about. But that is, even within that one showcase, you get the best and worst of Sony's 2024, highs and lows juxtaposed, which is why I think this year is so fascinating to like look at in retrospect. Of living through 2020, Sony's 2024 was like it's over, we're so back, it's over.
No, there's a ton of memes of that every week. If it was like a new thing was being added.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you said, Astro Bot won Game of the Year, and Astro Bot's obviously a great game, but like when I think of 2024 for PlayStation, I don't even think of Astro Bot. Like not first. I think of Helldivers, like as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So like, Astro Bot's just kind of there almost. I think for a lot of people, maybe it didn't hit. It's just kind of like, I mean, I think a lot of Sony's base don't even play that type of a game, you know? So it's also just in an interesting spot being a platformer.
I mean, if you make the comparison sales-wise, what, Astro's probably like 3.5, 4 million, something like that now. And like the big franchises consistently sell over 10 million copies each. So like it is a niche thing in comparison.
Do we know 3 to 4 million? Is that even...
Wasn't it? Or I think it was like 2.5 or something last time we heard, and that was
1.5 million as of November.
Oh, 1.5. Okay.
So I think it may be at 2 million now.
Yeah, let's go 2. Let's go 2. I was misremembering the numbers, but okay, that's even more of a niche.
Right.
But I do think that obviously for the hardcore fan base, there is a appeal for Astro. That was a big pop. It was obviously one of the defining games of last year. But that and Concord not being traditional massive Sony games, this was their summer showcase, and they showed off no big franchise games. Actually, notoriously, if you remember, Hiroki Totoki early in 2024 said there won't be any major franchise games released before March of 2025.
It was before the end of this fiscal year, yeah.
And interesting to think about his mindset, knowing that Astro and Concord were planned to be that year. And
even he was like, yeah, this isn't
this
is what our audience wants.
But I remember you and I having a conversation. There's actually a video on this channel that went up right before this state of play that happened, the summer showcase. And we were like, it has to be good. Remember how weird last year was? It has to be good. And like, I love Concord, and Astro Bot's a great game, but that was not. It literally was a PlayStation showcase, but that was not a legendary, hype-building, trust-restoring state of play. It was we got one game from it.
I mean, I feel like, I think that's part of the issue with this entire generation for Sony.
Yeah.
It feels like to get information out of them, you have to pull teeth. if this state of play had Ghosts of Yotei and Intergalactic in it, especially Intergalactic, which I mean, let's be real, sure, having a reveal at the Game Awards, biggest Game Awards ever, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But like, you don't need to be at the Game Awards. You could have had a PC port there or something else, from Sony, Astro Bot DLC.
Yeah.
If Intergalactic was in the showcase, and especially if Ghosts of Yotei was also there, the Concord burn would have been so much less.
Yeah.
If Concord was just in the middle as like this extra thing, but because they put so much money into it, they knew they had to, try as hard as they could, or seemingly as hard as they could.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't make the right choices with the marketing, but Sony's such a quiet company now, ever since COVID, ever since they left E3 in 2018, right?
Yeah.
And as we said earlier, you put all the announcements fizzed in there until Dawn Remake. You had a pretty good year of announcements. It was all just spread out in ways that like it hurts the excitement, I think.
Well,
in a lot of ways.
That is the crazy part. And I think I might have messaged you something about this a couple days ago, is when you actually look at all the games that were announced last year, it was a full year's worth of games, but it was spread out over so many different sources and
like a Horizon.
Yeah, exactly.
Another one that was at Summer Games Pass. That was announced 2 weeks later at another event. Yeah. Why?
I don't know, man. I don't know. And it means that there could have been that legendary, summer showcase, PlayStation showcase, that even I would say 2020 and 2021 had really good PlayStation showcases. But we've lost that energy completely. And it's not that the games aren't there, but they're just so pitter-pattered across the course of the year that there's never this moment that feels like, oh, finally we're back. It's, oh, yeah, okay, oh, Ghost of Yotei, oh, phew. Ghost of Yotei was in this, as we'll get to another showcase. Oh, that saved that showcase. Or Astro saved this showcase. Rather than, if it was an open on Astro, close on Ghost, then you're like, holy shit, like 2 big things, like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah.
I do think there is a real benefit to announcing multiple things concurrently, because it builds conversation and variety in a way that having the Astro conversation was done by the time Ghost of Yotei was announced, and by the time Intergalactic was announced, the Ghost of Yotei conversation was finished, and so
there's definitely a balance. I think Nintendo's pretty good at it, especially when you look at like Prime 4 being announced super early, which maybe not a good thing.
Yeah.
But you had Prime 4, you had Breath of the Wild 2 sequel forever, but then you have those games that get announced and released that same year.
Totally.
Then you have the other side where Xbox. I'm very critical of how early they announced a lot of these Series X games.
Yeah.
But I'd be lying if I said I can look at the Xbox lineup and the PlayStation lineup and said, oh, the PlayStation lineup's better. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just not. There's so much more to talk about with Xbox right now. And then Sony, obviously now it's better with Intergalactic and Ghost of Yotei. But like you said, the fact that Ghost of Yotei had to save that state of play and Intergalactic had to save the year or whatever, it's like, man, this would have been such a bigger deal if it was all together. And then PlayStation fans could just rejoice at like how good of a showcase that is.
Exactly.
And how good the entire lineup is. And and to your point, by the time Ghost of Yotei was announced, Astro Bot and Concord were out.
Yeah.
Well, one of them was out. One of them got them released. But,
No, totally. And what is interesting is comparing this to the showcases that you and I actually had a conversation about this a couple weeks ago, that people still look back on like, oh, that was like definitive. That was an amazing state of play. That was an amazing E3 showcase, an amazing Nintendo Direct. It's usually the ones that you would go back and rewatch most of the entire showcase, because there are multiple cool announcements across the course of it. I don't think about, oh, the summer 2024 PlayStation state of play, because, I mean, for me it was Concord and Astro, but for most people it was like, there was a reveal trailer for Astro Bot, but even for Astro it's like, well, it was kind of just what we expected, right? Like, there's not really any surprise.
We all knew an Astro Bot game was coming out.
Frankly, even with Ghost of Yotei, like, these are both, we haven't played Yotei, but, presumably a great game, and Astro's a great game, but they do fall into the PlayStation 5 curse of more of the same. Astro Bot, amazing game. I think the best game that Asobi has done. Real coming out party for them. It's not that different from the other 2 Astro games. And so, really, we're just left with Intergalactic at the end of the day. And of course, that's how we're going to close. They close the year, and we'll talk about that in a second. But really weird May. We'll see if they can come back this year. I think the problem is, because of the way they piss-assed all the announcements across the course of the last year and a half, I don't know if they have enough stuff to make a great
I mean, after we've heard about Bluepoint and Ben having to cancel their games,
that's true.
those were 2 I was like really excited to see what they were working on. You have Housemark. They could probably be ready to show another thing at this point, I would say.
Yeah.
Certainly not release it, but announce it. Maybe it comes out in 18 months after or something like that. But
yeah,
the second half of the... I mean, it's so funny because, like, you and I have talked so much about that phase 2 and how great... I mean, you were talking, like, the first part of the PS5 gen hasn't been, like, incredible or anything, but the second half will be as good as PS4 was, where PS4, just all their devs are firing on all cylinders. The moment that we saw those cancellations for Blue Point and Bend, I was just oh no, it's over. It's over. The gen's basically over.
Yeah.
There's a couple more things that will be announced. Of course, some from like their partnerships, but Housemark and maybe another Sony Santa Monica thing really are the only major like core Sony studios I'm expecting to make an announcement.
Yeah.
Until after PS6 is announced.
Well, it depends on if Venom is real. That's another thing that's like on the level of Miles, and I would count that personally.
Sure.
But
and maybe
Guerrilla's the co-op Horizon game. That's another big thing. But like, it'll be interesting to see once we see like what is going on this year, because this year already has Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei, like and
it's already a better year than 2023.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but like those are presumably the tentpole games. So like we probably don't have any big surprises coming.
I mean, the only thing else that I could see coming out this year, maybe like you said, the Horizon Online game if that's ready, and maybe Fair Games, but I'm not convinced that game exists.
No, I don't think that's coming out.
To be honest,
yeah,
I don't think that game's coming out.
Well.
I think we will see I think we'll see Marathon this year, but like I said, I was talking to you. We'll probably get like a beta this year or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it releases early next.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
Ghost of Yotei is certainly the big thing this year.
No, totally. Yeah, that and Death Stranding too. Yeah, they're a good. I would say. Well, I'm pretty sure those games actually sold commensurate. Tsushima and in Death Stranding 1. So the two games are. I mean, it's nice to have two tentpoles. We're going back to. 2022, which was, well, I guess that was also Gran Turismo, so like that was a pretty solid year. But like,
we don't play racing games, so it doesn't count.
It's a sport kind of.
It's a sport kind of game.
Yeah. So they State of Play in May, but as you mentioned, Summer Game Fest had Lego Horizon Adventures revealed. Just like I don't know, kind of at the start, kind of in the middle. Like I don't know, didn't really feel like much of a fanfare. That is something that had been rumored and leaked, I think about a month before.
I wish I hadn't leaked.
What?
That would have been a cool announcement. I wish I hadn't leaked.
Yeah, because it would have been a surprise.
Because it was just completely unexpected, yeah.
And to that game's credit, its concept is interesting. I'm glad that it happened. It's a unique thing. Game's not great, as we'll get to, but was an interesting moment to have that. And again, to your point earlier, I don't know if that would really have helped that State of Play, but it wouldn't have worked. Well, actually, it might have. I don't know.
I'm trying to think, actually, because I think, like, on the one hand, it being leaked, and it's like, oh god, another Horizon game. When we're hearing about this MMO, which apparently might be canceled, I don't know. Yeah. The online game, the remake of Horizon 1, which obviously we'll talk about later. Like, the fact that there was, on top of all that, which we'd already heard about for years, the fact that there was another Horizon thing that was apparently imminent, it was like, oh my god, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I do wonder if the leak actually maybe softened the blow, or maybe the leak happening made it, like, it gave us even more time to be like, oh, come on. Mm-hmm. Are we really doing this? Game to Switch, though. Got announced for Switch. That's a big deal.
And that was the big thing. I remember we have a reaction of us watching this be revealed, and we're like, oh, okay, cool, it's real. Gameplay wise, this is more different than we expected it to be. It's not a traditional Lego game. It's also not a like Skywalker Saga, sort of a semi-open world thing.
It's kind of more like a Minecraft Dungeons, right? It's like top down.
It's really just a basic top-down action game. That's really what it is. But in that reaction, we're like, okay, cool, yeah, but Nintendo Switch. Like, we freak out for that because that's a major change of a Sony core Sony IP, not MLB, being put onto anything to another competitor's platform. And we don't really have any data of how that game performed across different platforms. I don't know if we ever.
It probably did best on Switch, right?
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. I
don't know if it just. I just think it didn't do well across the board, to be honest.
Right. I don't think it did well anywhere. But I wonder what the split is between Switch and PS5.
Yeah.
Also weird there's no PS4 version. It's like you put it on Switch, why not do that? But it being on Switch, I think is a big deal. Now maybe it's because of the Lego licensing, and you don't have it on your list because it's not a PlayStation Studios thing. But later in the year, Freedom Wars Remastered got announced for Switch as well, which is a Sony IP, developed by Dimps, of course, and Bandai Namco published it. But I think especially as we move into Switch 2, maybe Sony doesn't really view Nintendo's competition in that way, and we might see more. I think we could see like Zero Dawn come to Switch too. I think that's totally possible.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Now after that, maybe God of War. I don't know about that. Last of Us, Spider-Man, maybe if it's Spider-Man 1 10 years later. Like what's it gonna hurt?
Yeah.
Sony's definitely been doing some experiments with like different platforms. They did Forbidden West on PS Plus a few years back. They said, or it was in like the leak, the Insomniac leak, that apparently that was like a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised since we're getting Lego Horizon Adventures. We're getting, obviously MLB is already on there because of MLB, and then Freedom Wars. Like, let's say we get a Gravity Rush 2 remaster to time with the movie. I could see that coming to Switch. That's a perfect fit.
Or I mean, let's see if there's an actual thing. But like, there's supposed to be this Patapon cartoon that's happening. Like, there's like a Jack and Daxter thing. Like, these are things that, especially if it's a collection, especially if it's a, I mean, the Patapon games were already remastered, but a remastered collection of some kind. That. I can see those sort of games coming. I don't know if like the big tentpole IP. I mean, Horizon is that, but
I would say Horizon's the only one I would be kind of confident in.
Yeah.
Because it is family friendly.
Yeah. To some degree,
I think
probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Out of Sony's IP, it's definitely the most family friendly. I would say.
Yeah. And
maybe next to Spider-Man, which isn't their IP. But
the problem with Astro is it's 2 PS5.
Yeah, I don't think Astro. Ratchet and Clank also. I guess maybe
Rift
be a
Apart.
good fit. Or 2016.
Oh, both of them. Well, 2016.
2016 does not have a PS.
Doesn't have a PC.
That's a PS5 remaster. Get ready.
A PC, PS5, Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Release.
Yeah, there you go.
That's interesting. That's a good game. So it'd be interesting to see that. But that gets out of the Summer Game Fest area and into the Concord beta, which lasted for a few days. I remember actually extended it. Which was fun because I was like, I get to play more Concord. But
did I play this with you? Did I play the beta?
You must have. Yeah.
I think we did. Yeah, I think I did. I don't think I played much of it though because I was like, I'm gonna buy it anyway. Might as well. Might as well save up my Concord time. I'm gonna have it forever once I buy it.
I can't wait.
No point in playing the beta too much.
But again, July 18th to 21st. That is 1 month before the game comes out. That's not really a beta in the way that we would traditionally know a beta of taking in fan feedback the first time the public is able to play it. And
I mean, that's the issue with a lot of betas, like Battlefield, Call of Duty. They do it all. It's always like a month before. I think one of the only true betas I remember, like Xdefiant had one. Rest in peace.
Multiverse.
I remember there was the Multiverses. Well, that was just the full release, to be real. But I remember like Destiny had an alpha, like straight up like 8 months before release, and that was like kind of cool. But yeah, Concord beta releasing a month before the actual game. That's not a beta. That you're not taking feedback.
Well, that's what Concord needs.
It's a marketing beat, and it definitely needed it.
If we'd had this beta, let's just say it's the exact same time, and the game is scheduled for launch in Q1 of 2025, March, and you can really take in some feedback and polish things up a little bit. We'd be in a very different situation. But again, this is to my point earlier of having a condensed marketing cycle, I think really hurting this game. It was a snowball effect of revealed, everyone hates it, no one plays the beta, and then the game is out a month later. Like, this is there's no time to pivot, there's no time to like try to change public perception. They'd already set in motion all of this stuff, and it had to happen in like a 3 month gap. That's crazy for a game that's supposed to be like the new IP for them. So I think that's one of the major issues that the game faced. Is just they had no chance to figure it out. Then at the end of that month, July, 220 people were laid off at Bungie. Bungie was some restructuring happened with Bungie where they were like, okay, we're sending some people to other Sony studios, and they confirmed that they're starting a new PlayStation studio based on a small team within Bungie. That is, as of now, we haven't seen their game. We don't know the studio's name, but we got a new studio announced last year, Bo. Bungie 2 is real.
Bungie 2.
And it's a new PlayStation
Bungie was still
studio.
good.
Which, again, and we'll actually continue this conversation later down this list. Bungie is being... So you know
absorbed.
How... Yeah, they're being absorbed. You know how, like, when an animal diet, like a whale corpse, like, so it sinks to the bottom of the ocean, and, like, different animals start to feed on it, and, like, the nutrients start to be spread to other parts of the ecosystem. That we're seeing that happen in real time with Bungie, as talent is poached, as top executives are merged into SIE, smaller teams are being spun off and absorbed, and it's a crazy situation. But I do think that separating that from the current Bungie that is seemingly kind of rotting in real time, and them having a new idea that is like, we need our own space and direction for this, that's kind of exciting for me. So I maintain a reasonable level of excitement for whatever this game and this team is.
This is the MOBA Gummy Bears, right? Or is this something different?
I think so. Yeah, I think as far as I can remember, that's what we think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see it. It might be a while. I'm definitely excited to see Marathon, Destiny. I guess they're still gonna keep doing more expansions. I know Final Shape was like the big culmination, but I'm sure they'll have more. Bungie was definitely a mistake.
Yeah,
like, we can Bungie just be like, yeah, you shouldn't have bought that. Like, yeah, we're gonna talk about Concord next and how it fumbled the bag completely. Yeah. 400 million supposedly. Bungie cost them $3 billion.
Yeah.
So Bungie was definitely a much worse. Like, people, Concord, worst thing that's ever happened to Sony. Bungie was worse, actually, because what have they really done?
Yeah.
They shut down Last of Us Online supposedly.
Yeah.
And the one live service game that maybe actually would have done really good.
And it's yet to be seen if Marathon, as an extraction shooter, can be.
It almost feels like they almost already missed the boat on extraction shooters too. I haven't seen people talk about that in a while. Those came and went real quick.
And of course, this Project Gummy Bears thing, who the hell knows if that's going to even happen? Like, the problem with this year is not only was trust shaken with the PlayStation fan base with something like Concord or cancellations of games, closure of major studios, longtime studios, but confidence in any given project from Sony, I think, was also really shaken. You know, they start to, with 2024, for a good chunk of their audience, have a very shaky track record of Concord being something that people aren't particularly happy with, and then controversy with Helldivers II post-launch support, and Until Dawn being like just not, as we'll get to, not even as good a version as the original one, and Lego Horizon is something nobody really cares about. And so I think, even though, like, okay, you look at 2023, it's only Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is a fucking rock solid, down the line, massive seller, massive critical acclaim, nominated for Game of the Year. That's the Sony stamp. That's Horizon Forbidden West into God of War Ragnarok into Spider-Man 2, bing, bang, boom. And 2024, they tried a lot of stuff, but I think on the whole it didn't pay off. And so even me, as someone who is very invested in this and likes the weirder games and even likes some of the games that people consider bad or failures, I think of Project Gummy Bears and I'm like, I want to have as much confidence in this as I can, because I, on the whole, like PlayStation Studios, SIE, but I don't even know if it'll happen because there's so many cancellations, so many restructurings. Seems like Godspeed to Hideaki Nishino. He really has a tough job. I mean, he's not nearly as bad, but he's kind of in the position Phil Spencer was in. Early Xbox One, when he became head of Xbox Studios.
Got to turn this thing around.
Got to figure out what the direction for this is going to be. And to Phil's credit, he really, over the course of a decade, has found what it's going to be. Of course, he has a much bigger ship to wrestle with now. But Nishino, man, it's going to be really interesting to see what new leadership, what direction things take. Because clearly Jim Ryan and Herman Holst, like, mash things up in a really, really weird way.
Yeah, to your point with Gummy Bears and like not even being confident it'll release, I think that's also part of my issue in general. It's just like, okay, well, Sony Bluepoint and Ben get canceled. That's obviously a big blow. Ghost of Yotei is going to come out. It's going to be great. Intergalactic is going to come out. It's going to be great. I'm not even sure if Housemarque will get a game out at this point. Like, with how things have been, there's just no confidence. on anything until we see something, which obviously that's how
Molecule.
it goes. Right, Media Molecule. I certainly don't trust them. There's the Jason Blundell thing.
That could.
Who knows?
Haven could be closed.
Fair Games. I 100% don't think Fair Games is coming out. Like,
yeah, and we're talking about like the studios we just mentioned. That's like a quarter of their teams. Like this is not insignificant. Oh, okay, because we're also on top of Firewalk closed, Neon Koi closed, London closed. Japan
Fire
closed,
Sprite canceled.
was closed.
Twisted Metal.
Sprites, yeah.
Like,
I don't know, man. I don't know. Moving on. After that, little mire we got stuck in. Concord comes out. But
we both played it. We liked it.
We did play it. I obviously loved it. You enjoyed what you played of it, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing with Concord. It's a good game.
I agree.
It just doesn't need to. It didn't need to exist. Like, it's just there's too many of these games. And as we learned, it started like concepting in like 2016, like around the time Overwatch came out, or maybe a little bit later than that. But it was a game that should have come out in 2017, and even then,
you can keep talking. Someone's knocking on my downstairs door. I think. 1 second.
Oh, okay. Chad, it's just me and you. But yeah, Concord, like, it didn't need to exist. Like, as someone who played it, I probably put 10, 20 hours in it in that like 2-week period. There was just, even if it had released in 2017 around the time of like Lawbreakers, it is very much a product of that time. Plus, there's all the obvious controversies like character design, it just kind of not being that inventive. Like, it's solid, it's well made. It just didn't really need to exist. Yeah. It was knocking.
My brother, apparently. I don't know why he didn't have a key to get in the door, but I had to go let him in. So I caught that last part. It's look. Let me hold up my Concord. Let me wear my Concord shirt. Let me hold up my.
I
Concord
want that.
controller.
I want. Oh, you have the controller too. Oh, jeez. Do you use that?
Oh, hold on. Let me drink from my Firewalk water bottle.
Yeah.
Do I use the Concord controller?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Basically every day.
Nice.
It's fantastic. I think it's great. Oh, by the way, only piece of game-themed hardware I've ever bought.
Interesting.
I don't have
any. What is that going for? I know it was spiked for a while. Let me see. Concord, PS5, DualSense.
The DualSense? Oh yeah.
It's still going for like $230.
Really? Holy shit. Okay, well, Bo, do you remember when we were in that car together driving to the Redmond Nintendo HQ, and I was on my phone.
Me and Abram were like convincing you. We were like, "You do just buy it.
Debating whether or not I should buy this, because that was also that morning was when they announced the game was me shutting down. Yeah.
I remember you texting me like, Bo. I remember you texting me because obviously you were at my house and you're like, Bo, don't check Twitter.
Yeah.
And I like a dummy. I was like, oh, it's Twitter. I just immediately like instinctively opened Twitter, but.
Because
what a great morning! I'm glad you were here. Yeah, I'm glad you were visiting when we got
to experience that together. And then that day, I on your PlayStation played Concord for a few hours, and I have a tweet to this effect. And this is the thing that really is why this game will sit with me for a long time. Is because I'm not a multiplayer game guy largely. I'm not a first-person shooter game guy largely. But there was something about the feel of Concord, the aesthetic. I think the score is fantastic. I liked a lot of the character designs. It really was a game that, from basically every angle, I thought was fantastic. Like, it is actually one of my favorite games. And I remember sitting there under the knowledge that this game was going to be shut down in like 4 days, playing on your PS5 because even though like, yeah, we probably should have been doing something a little bit more productive because it was the only day we were in town, and playing this game and being like, and I just like I got sucked back into it. And I played it for like 3 or 4 hours that night. I'm like, dude, I really actually did like it. And the great part about that, though, the one saving grace of all this, is what that means is my honeymoon period with Concord never ended. I never had the post-launch support was disappointing. Oh, I kind of fell off of it over time. I had
got that 2 weeks of the product you just truly loved.
Exactly, and I will never be able to confirm or deny my nostalgia for it ever again.
Yeah, that's true. You'll always have that high thought of it in your head. That's something.
It's a really interesting personal experience for me. But as we're talking about it in the context of the 2024, this is the story. This is maybe the story of Sony's last 10 years. I mean, all of these massive games and rebooting God of War and buying Insomniac and getting Horizon to sell like tens of millions of copies in each of these games. Like, they really have built up a portfolio for themselves that is putting them at the top of the industry. But Concord is the thing that people take away from PlayStation's 2024, is a game that was, on the whole, poorly received, sold legendarily terribly. I mean,
like 25,000 copies, I think, is like the idea or something like that.
Like, it is, like, this is like, I really do think it's the biggest failure in the history of the medium.
Yeah.
Especially on a financial level.
Oh no! If you look at the budget versus what it brought in, they made so little that they just figured, why not?
I've been delivered canes.
Oh, man, you got some canes. You got some fucking Raising Canes. Hell yeah, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice. And this is something that I don't think people are going to forget soon.
No.
Especially with the superlatives this game ended up garnering. First off was the superlative of how quickly it got shut down. Most even failed live service games are...
Suicide Squad got its full year. XDefiant got its full 9 months.
Yeah. Around a year, petering off, trying to figure it out, a couple seasons worth of content.
Babylon's Fall even had like a full year.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the failed live service game model traditionally.
Yes.
Concord got, I think it was like 12 days on the market before getting, not even like, we'll have some servers up where you can still play it. You can't buy it. It was removed from the PlayStation Store. Like,
I saw the icon on my PS5.
God, that's the North Star logo, baby. That's the North Star logo. So how quickly that turnaround? Because they said they were taking it offline, if you remember, and they removed it from the store and they offered refunds and all of that. But there was a 8-week period where we didn't know what was going to happen to it, and there was the conversation of, is this going to be reworked? Are they going to try to turn some of what they have into another project that can salvage what they've got, or are they going to try to rework the microtransactions and stuff, make it free to play? And at the end of the day, the solution that they came to, and I think at a certain point, given
definitely the right choice,
what a legendary failure it was, to shut down the studio, disband the team, never make the game available in any form ever again. And it's gone. And then, of course, the reporting then coming later down the line of the massive budget that the game accrued over the course of its development is another superlative. It got the superlative of how short it was available and then how much it cost to make. Though we are learning a little bit more in retrospect that this is actually something that is like bigger. Game budgets are bigger than we just knew at that point in time. Concord kind of broke it down, but like, these Call of Duty games are costing like $800 million, so it's like, this is just what things happen, how things happen now. But people are not. Concord will probably. There's actually a chance that by the time we're in the PS6 and we're thinking about PS5, that Concord, even though it was a game only available for less than 2 weeks, is the game that people think about, and that is something that Sony does not want. It's going to be really. It's going to take a lot to recover from this.
Yeah, obviously this is much less of a big deal, I would say. Although it's funny because it's also Sony Pictures. In the way that Morbius still references like the superhero bomb, Kraven and Madam Web did worse. True. But Morbius is still the meme. Yeah. Morbius is still the point that people stick on of like, this sucks. This movie is bad and it bombed. Concord will be that for probably a long time. I mean, there will be
the point where, like, Mag was the live service failure of that time or whatever. There will be a point where people are just like, oh, like that, like it's a curiosity. Right. But I do think it'll take longer, just given how public of a failure Concord was, especially.
Well, it's the fact that there was a buildup of like, we're doing 12 live service games, and then Helldivers' huge success. Concord was really their second one that got out the door, and it was this catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
So it isn't just Concord. It's the message of Concord shutting down and what that meant for every studio that was working on a live service game. Yeah, I'm sure at that moment, all of them started panicking. And I'm sure a lot of them already knew at that point that, this wasn't going to work out. I mean, even before this, Last of Us Online was shut down or, canceled like a year prior. That was probably a bad sign. Then you had the Twisted Metal game. Helldivers comes out, big pop.
Yeah.
Concord, nail in the coffin for probably all of these games, except for maybe, like you said, the Horizon online game, and maybe Fair Games comes out. But I'm sure Haven's scared. I'm sure they're quaking in their boots.
And that was one of my first thoughts when I heard about this. Is I'm like, can you imagine being in Haven right now? And you're working on the game that was announced in a very similar fashion on the exact same day as Concord. And
just looks like a Ubisoft heist game.
Yeah.
Which, like, is fine. But it's like, do we need this? I don't know.
We'll see.
Do people want this?
Yeah, it's a next level thing. But you know, we're in a post Concord world, and I hate to say that, but I have to.
There's two phases in your life, Tucker. Before Concord, BC, and after Concord, AC.
I do think for the games industry, I think it is a turning point.
No, actually, yes.
Not only in the business, especially for Sony, because it seems like they are really taking heed from the failure of this game with those 2 major cancellations. Of course, we'll see what happens with especially Bungie and Haven. But I do think that also for the industry in terms of like a just general conversation and like culture war thing, Concord is like the defining face of games culture war discourse. And it probably will be for a while. And so there is BC. And
there is BC.
I guess they're not an AD unless they're like after
BC
delisting.
And AC.
Before Concord and after delisting.
After delisting, yeah. That's what I abide by.
That's what those really mean to me. Yeah. 2024 is my year 0. But Concord releases August 23rd, is shut down on September 6th. Bo? The same day that Astro Bot
do you think that was a coincidence, or were they trying to cover it up even more? There it is.
Astro Bot comes out. Is what, like it's like a 91, 92 on Metacritic. Across the board, all the critics are saying this is one of the best games that Sony's done in a while. I would agree with that. I think it's a
94 on Metacritic, Doctor.
That is, I mean,
let's be real. That's a little ridiculous.
I mean, I agree. I would give it a 9, and so that would lower it a little bit. But a lot
8.5 or a 9 for me, probably.
Yeah. But this and Helldivers. If Concord had not happened, this would have been a great year for Sony. Because you look at something like Until Dawn, Lego Horizon, like these are just kind of like nothing.
You're not gonna think about those.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, okay, they happened. Like people aren't mad about them. They're whatever. Like it's just like part of the library. Concord brings down the success
the entire year.
Astro Bot and Helldivers, which are there were 2 of the most popular games of the year, 2 of the highest acclaimed games of the year. Astro Bot obviously winning Game of the Year, as we'll talk about. But then Concord makes it a mixed year, which I think is accurate. I'm not saying that people shouldn't feel that way, but again, to the point we were making earlier of the "It's over, we're so back," same day, man.
Yeah, then like I think it was like a couple days later we heard about the budget for Concord, and then
you know what else happened?
That was around this time.
The game was shut down. Was the Welcome to Concordia?
That was awesome
trailer.
Abram was watching it on my futon, and I was like, "Are you serious? Welcome to Concordia."
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, but what about Astro? How do you feel about that in the context of 2024?
It's a great game. I did a review of it on It's Amiibo when it came out. As time has gone on, my thoughts on it have definitely, I think, gotten like lessened. Sure. My view of the game. Mm-hmm. And I think you kind of share these opinions as I do, but not maybe to the same extent in terms of like hampering your enjoyment. But I think Astro Bot is extremely overrated at this point in time, I would say. It lacks identity. It lacks any identity at all. There's nothing there. The enemies. And I think it's really the fact that we had Astro Bot Rescue Mission and we had Astro's Playroom and we had the Playroom. I really want Team Asobi to do something that is unique. Mm-hmm. And Astro Bot being like a celebration of PlayStation is really cool.
Yeah.
But if they do it again, I'm gonna be rolling my eyes like when I see Insomniac use New York map again. It's like, okay, let's calm down. Like the boss designs in Astro Bot, man. The music sucks.
Well, the boss designs are mostly reutilized from
right, exactly. A lot of the enemies too are from Astro's Playroom. So,
no, I think they all are. But those are all from the VR game as well, Rescue Mission. Yeah,
right. And as somebody played all 3 of them
this year, or last year, a couple months later, or a couple months before this game came out, and I agree. Astro Bot is a game that I don't have mixed feelings on because I think it's a phenomenal game. I think it is. It's not close to like Mario games in my mind, but it's a lot closer than most 3D platformers get.
Right.
Like it's a really goddamn good game, and it's also like technically solid. It has the fidelity of a PS5 game, but it has that more cutesy art style. I think it's especially for like the way it was developed and the smaller team that's making it, and like all the ideas that they had. Like it does feel like a game of pure heart and soul. Like this is just like the core like Kingdom Hearts-esque like the pure good soul of the industry.
Right.
But I also am someone who saw that same soul and passion in Astro's Playroom, which is a game I loved, and Astro Bot Rescue Mission, which is a game I loved. And so I, unfortunately, because I love the other games, have this knock in my mind against Astro Bot that you were just espousing of like, it's so built on the other games. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does mean that it does feel less special. If this had been the first Astro game we played, dude, like
crazy.
This would be if it was the first Astro game that was made, a full home console retail release Astro game, I think you wouldn't be having the same complaints. I obviously wouldn't.
No, absolutely not. Because like, and that's why it's kind of hard to discuss because I do love the game. I think it is an incredibly it's a very fun 3D platformer.
Yeah.
But it's like that's all I can really say about it. It's just a really good 3D platformer. But when I think of like, and to be fair, there aren't that many 3D platformers outside of Nintendo that really do it. I don't think. But like, I like Forgotten Land more than it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that game has so much more like.
Oh,
I don't want to say soul necessarily, but in terms of like unique shit,
totally.
unique to that game, Forgotten Land clears.
Yeah.
Same with, I mean, even obviously Odyssey. Right, I'm sure Psychonauts 2, when I play it, I'll feel the same way. Astro Bot.
Dude, the first level of Psychonauts 2 is the dentist level.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
And I mean, and to the point with Astro Bot, I know you definitely don't feel this way.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll both feel this way about Ghost of Yotei. I haven't played Forbidden West or Ragnarok. Maybe people feel similarly there. I felt similar about Spider-Man 2, where I love Spider-Man 2018. I love Miles Morales. Spider-Man 2 comes around, I was like, okay.
We're on the third time. Yeah, no, I get that totally.
Doing it again, it's still good.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna like. And maybe this is the thing, me and you were Tears of the Kingdom defenders.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what those people feel, the Tears of the Kingdom haters. Maybe this is what they're feeling when they say, Breath of the Wild is way better.
Yeah.
Because, like, Spider-Man 2 is probably a better game than 2018, but, like, I would never say that.
Sure.
Fair.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, it is, Astro's just, it sits in a weird place. But at the end of the day, I think you would agree with this, it's like, it's still a win. It's a great game.
No, absolutely.
It's a massive win for Team Asobi, winning Game of the Year, especially as we'll get to, as we've gotten to. I don't know why I keep saying, like, we're talking about it. We're talking about the fucking year. Well, I mean, I will mention it when we get to the point in the calendar, is basically what I'm saying.
We're close. We have a couple more things,
But I also think that it's a win for what we were just saying about Sony having, like, a shakiness to them. And, like, for me, closing like their more unique studios like London and Pixel Opus and a Japan studio, Team Asobi's still doing it. You got to give them credit for that. Is they're still doing that weirder, smaller, more nimble, more creative Sony game that no one else in their family is doing other than maybe Housemarque. But maybe a Molecule if we ever see anything from them. But I do love the game. It's just like it has like a weird wrinkle to it that I have to espouse, but like at the end of the day, like I don't know, it'll be interesting. What I really hope is the next game is not an Astro Bot game.
Please
really
God no. The thing is, it's gonna be. It's absolutely
one
gonna
game
be.
Of the year.
Yeah.
But
and it'll be good. I'll play it. I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it lacking that identity definitely hurts it when we talk about it in retrospect. For me. No, but I know. I mean, I think I'm in the minority. I think everybody mostly just loves it across the board. A lot of people say it's the best 3D platform ever, better than Mario games, and I can certainly see that perspective.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is crazy that we're even discussing it on that level.
Yeah.
Totally. For a Team Asobi's first true Astro Bot game, even though they had 2, startup attempts, the fact that their first full effort is that good is definitely worth praising.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's also, I was just thinking about this today because I was listening to the Gamertag Radio guys talk about both of them. It's their favorite game of the year. That's Paris Lily and Danny Pena. And I was like, we are in a good time for 3D platformers right now because for most of like the 2000s and 2010s, well, no, actually, let's just say 2010s. It was really only Mario doing it. And you're like, 3D platformers are kind of gone, like whatever. But like now we can be excited for the next game from HAL, the next game from, I don't know if Double Fine will do it, but like the next game from EPD8, the next game from Team Asobi. Like we have these top of the industry, like best 3D platformers of all time series that are actively going. And so like that is like, that feels good. That feels good. Because we're sickos. We like this shit. Concord shut down same day as Astro Bot comes out. Really, really fun situation there. PS5 Pro announced 4 days later for $700 no disc drive. Fuck you.
That was the down.
Yeah.
That was the next down. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, and people did this with PS4 Pro. Now, to be fair, I bought a PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
So
did you buy
I
a
can't
PS4
speak
Pro?
too much. No, I never bought a PS4 Pro. I didn't have money when I was, I was 16. I was 15 when that came, or 16. Yeah, I was 16. But I do think it's $700 expensive. Yes, obviously. The outrage for these Pro devices, I definitely think is overblown. It's for the people that just want to buy them. It's not like you're required to buy them. Is there that much of a difference? I mean, maybe not. Certain games like Rebirth look way better on PS5 Pro, but like, this isn't taking away anything if you're a PS5 owner. The same way, I mean, when I remember being 16 when I couldn't afford a PS4 Pro, and I was like, Final Fantasy 15 is gonna look worse. I'm so angry about it. But now I'm just like, you don't need it. It's just an extra thing, So it's fine. No disk drive's annoying, and I don't like what that means going forward. But it's just the inevitable future anyway. So
it's definitely it's a hint of things to come. And I
at least there is a disk drive you can put on it.
That's true.
At least, and hopefully that is a sign of like, okay, PS6, maybe you can buy a disc drive and play your PS5 games on it. I'm not expecting that, but I don't know.
And if it is available, we will though, and that'll make our our PS6s $100 more than everyone else's. God damn it.
Yeah.
Well, technically, that's what happened with my PS5 as well because Tanner got the no disc drive version, digital, and I got a more expensive one, so I could put in Lego Horizon Adventures, which I bought for $60, and it's
$60. I guess like $20 now already.
Yeah, I know, Bo. I'm aware of this.
I almost bought that game on launch day, but I was like busy with Brothership and Dragon Quest, and I was like, I don't need to be buying like a Horizon Adventures for full price. I'll get it when it's $10.
God of War Ragnarok PC came out a couple days later.
How did that do? I want to check the Steam peak for that because I didn't hear anybody talk about that on PC.
Yeah, but as far as I know, it's just another solid win for Nixes. Like they're
had a 35,000 peak, so about half of what 2018 did. I mean, that's probably sequel you expect.
Yeah, interesting.
Less exciting as they do more.
That is definitely something I was thinking about at the beginning. We were talking about all these PC games and how
there's less novelty.
Yeah, the novelty is completely worn off at this point, especially when it's 8 times a year that PlayStation Studios publishes something on PC, and that we're getting. We already talked about Horizon Forbidden West, Ghost of Tsushima, and now we're on to even just in this year, God of War Ragnarok, and we haven't even gotten to the other. We talk about Concord, we talk about Helldivers II. There's no novelty to it. It's a consistent thing now, and so I think it's unfortunate that it is that much lower. And I think probably specifically because of the lack of novelty thing, but because I think that Ragnarok is on similar. I think it's actually a much better game. It's on a similar quality. I like it more, is what I'm saying. But I do think that it unfortunately gives the skew to 2018 because way more people have played that. When I'm like, the two games should be really in conversation with each other, so you can talk about the character development and stuff. But like, nothing I can do about it. That's just these.
I think that's why it's cool that Ghost of Tsushima did do so well still, even with maybe this PC fatigue setting in. Tsushima was still able to make a mark.
Well, it's interesting because that's a new IP for the PlayStation for the PC market. We're talking about the relative underperformance of Forbidden West and Spider-Man 2 and Ragnarok, all those games had very similar other games released in a much shorter time period than even they came out on PS5 or PS4, right? Like, we're talking about, like, oh, doing the same thing again. Imagine if you're a PC player and you play Forbidden West, and then you get to play Zero Dawn. It's just a couple months between, as opposed to like 5 years between. People are already giving Forbidden West shit for that, which I think is fucking ridiculous. But it's definitely a really different market that you and I aren't tapped into, because we're, for the most part, playing these games at launch, or at least aware of them at launch on their PS5 versions or their home console versions. But yeah, I think that we're going to be in a better place for all these games once they are much closer to their release, their actual release dates, and we don't have this like filling in the gaps that I think is eating away at a lot of the attention and excitement for these games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the PS5, the PlayStation 30th anniversary news happened that day.
I tried so hard to get that thing, man. I tried so hard. I'm still angry about it, to be honest.
But the PS 30th anniversary news isn't just the PS5 Pro that you're talking about, the bundle. Which is very cool, and it was super limited. And if I could have gotten one, I guess I would.
I had like 8 browsers. Me and Olivia were going hard trying to get that thing, and it didn't work out.
That is definitely something that will be worth a lot of money.
It's already worth like $3,000, I think. So.
Oh man. Yeah. But if we're going through everything, we also have to talk about the fact that they also announced the themes. Though the themes I guess came out, or maybe it was like a couple days later. The themes for PS5, which was like you start on your PlayStation 5, and it's like, oh, it's like a PS1.
Yeah, those came out when it was December 6th for the anniversary.
Oh, that's.
But they announced them in September. But yeah,
the themes, and then also the shapes of play. You remember the shapes of play?
Did you buy the shapes of play?
No, I didn't.
You should have.
I want to get the like ones that are like fidget toys. Because like, there's little rubber versions of the sacred symbols.
Maybe I should buy some of these.
The shapes of play. There's 3 of them.
I like to be a good fidget toy while I'm watching TV. I gotta be honest.
But they look high quality. But it's like $35.
$80
for what? For which one?
For the shapes of play create set.
What is that? The one I'm talking about? No, I'm talking about Recharge.
Recharge. Are these like gummy?
There's Battle.
Oh, I might buy them. I actually might buy them.
They're like little rubber fidget things. Yeah.
Dude, I want to flick this X. Or cross. I'm going to flick it around.
There's a board game called Battle, Shapes of Play Battle, and then there's the... What did you say? Would we count this
as a Sony game release in 2024? Shapes of Play Battle.
Think about it. Think about it. But
Shapes of Play create.
The Shapes of Play is just a funny thing. I just think it's an interesting tidbit.
So like you can like break them up and you can like spell words with them. Yeah. This is a weird thing they did.
Magnets or something. I don't know. It is very weird.
It's neat though.
Yeah.
If Nintendo did it, I would buy it.
And that's my point. Yeah.
You're right.
Why are the Create ones $80, man?
That's crazy.
I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, I know. I just thought it'd be funny to mention that. And then there was a September State of Play. We are talking about a year with 3 states of play at a consistent cadence throughout the year, and of course, other announcements at Summer Game Fest and the Game Awards elsewise. But State of Play opening on additional Astro content in speedrun levels. Cool. I didn't play those, but I think if you went back and played them, if I went back and played them, and the additional Christmas,
I'm sure
level,
they're great.
I'm sure they're a lot of fun.
I will say though.
Yeah.
And this is my issue with any conference that does this. Don't open on an old game.
I totally
just don't do it. Even if the game that you open with isn't that exciting, don't do it.
I agree. No, I agree. And
because it immediately sets the tone for me. I'm like, oh, well.
I had the same reaction to, I don't know if you felt the same way, about the summer 2023 Nintendo Direct that had the reveal of Showtime and Move It and Wonder and Detective Pikachu Returns and
open on Pokemon DLC.
Open on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, that's not. You don't do that.
Like, nah.
Well, I mean, that was a big deal because Pokemon stuff doesn't really pop up in Direct, so I'm sure Pokemon Company, they were like, we're going to be in the Direct, but we're going to open it.
It's so annoying, though. I remember that starting like, nope, this is a bad sign. And of course, that was a fine sign.
Ended up being one of the best Directs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But this unfortunately, this state of play does not carry that same extra. Like, okay,
It doesn't.
What?
It has Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered.
Oh, my bad. Well, yeah, so Astro Speedrun levels, Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster revealed, and then Ghost of Yotei revealed.
Yeah.
I do like how they handled the Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster reveal. It wasn't an opener. It wasn't a closer. This wasn't like a major thing. They're like, someone came on screen and was like, we've been working with our friends at Nix's to, update a little bit in the engine. They showed some side-by-side comparison. It's like, okay, this does actually quite look a little bit better. There's like, they talked about like the lighting engine and stuff. I don't know. But like, I like that it was like a quick descriptive thing of, we're doing this. It's out very soon. It's not going to cost you very much. And, we're not making a giant deal out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we heard rumors of this, I think, for like straight up 2 years of like, they're remaking Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah. And you look at Horizon Zero Dawn 2017 PS4 game, looks beautiful, looks incredible. Totally. Looking at this game, watching the Digital Foundry breakdown, this is actually one of the few PS4 to PS5 remasters where I'm like, damn, they actually did a lot.
Yeah.
I actually don't even really think it's close. It looks significantly better.
Yeah.
Which is not something I would have expected, not something I would have necessarily needed. But of all the PS4 to 5 remasters, I can respect it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also interesting that this game was the game that launched closest to the launch of PS5 Pro. So there's like, that's kind of PS5 Pro's launch game.
Well, a different Horizon was the launch game, but
no,
well, I guess it was a week later. It was in between.
They're both a week apart. Interesting.
That's insane.
But again, to the point of Sony had a crazy end of this year. We just talked about like 7 things in September. and
September was
of
a big
course,
month.
This state of play ending with Ghost of Yotei, which is a game that I'm really looking forward to. I just platinumed Ghost of Tsushima last year.
Oh, you did? Nice.
That was my first time playing it, and I went through and platinumed it.
Did you do the Iki Island stuff?
No.
Also pretty good.
Yeah,
you should have.
I'm sure it's good. Bo?
DLC? Okay.
It's DLC.
Built in. Wait, did you play it on PS5? Like the director's cut? And that's not DLC, it's just built in.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I know. But, But I know it's DLC.
You like Lost Legacy. That's a DLC.
That's a game. But what are your thoughts on Ghost of Yotei? That's
I'm excited.
The tempo game this year.
Yeah, I was. I'll be honest. I was a little disappointed to see it wasn't Jin's story continuing, Jin Sakai. But I'm fine with them going to another time period. It's like 300 years in the future, I think. My initial gut reaction of like, oh, it's not his story continuing, like that's kind of worn off. I'm like, I don't really care. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, oh, cool new character, cool female samurai or ninja, whatever. Yeah. We need to see more of it. We didn't see gameplay at all. We just saw like a cool CGI trailer. Looks like more Ghost, and Ghost is Tsushima is one of my favorite PS4 games. Definitely was I want to say it was my game of the year 2020. Yeah, that sounds right. Even though I didn't play it until 2021, like retrospectively, I would say that was my favorite game that released that year. Yeah. So I'm very excited to see more of this, but we just didn't really get enough, I would say, to have me salivating just yet.
I think it was a great way to reveal it, close on it, big deal. Like you have the CGI like zoom in on like, oh, what is this? It's gonna be something cool. I think that I'm very happy with the changes it seems like they're making. There seems to be like gun combat, which is really going to mix up the way that you're doing combat, which I think got pretty repetitive in Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, I like that game quite a bit. I think that the combat especially got repetitive by the end of platinuming that game. And I also think that Atsu, who's the new protagonist, is way more interesting visually than Jin, who I thought was fine. I think he's a cool traditional samurai character, but the like wide-brimmed hat and the like yellow scarf and the like ancient Japanese mandolin or whatever she's got on her back, like there's like a visual clarity to that character that I'm like, ooh, like I'm interested in this. She's got like a wolf buddy. I'm like, I want to see this happen. So I'm really sold on Ghost of Yotei. I really love the silver and gold or yellow color palette.
It is nice, like branding, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels bold and distinct. And we don't know that much about it. And to the point of it being a new story, for Atsu, I am interested to see how they work in the lore from Ghost of Tsushima and Jin's story, because
you'll definitely be hearing about
the ghost. She's the new ghost. It is a legacy. It's a title that's passed down, and so I'm familiar with. I don't know. I didn't really care too much for the story in Ghost of Tsushima. I thought it was fine, but it's good baseline knowledge for me. But going into Yote of like, ooh, where can I like tease out some hints and stuff? So I'm really looking forward to that game.
I can't wait.
And again, I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I'm a person that, on the whole, has preferred the PS5 sequels to the PS4 late PS4 games. And so I just have confidence this is going to be like a game that I love but better. So yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
We should be seeing more in like a week or so, dude. I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Until
Dawn released day and date on PC. That's a single player Sony game that came out day and date on PC. It is a remake. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Until Dawn #1 fan.
So this runs at 30 FPS. The original, if you play the original PS4 version on PS5, it runs at 60.
Yeah.
So that sucks. Also, the faces kind of look worse, actually.
Yeah.
So this is probably the most questionable remake they've done.
I did platinum Until Dawn. I think that's a very good game. Though I do think that it does feel a little bit dated in the context of that style of game has been iterated on a lot of times since then. I don't know if I like the Quarry more, but it's a similar game. They've definitely tried some different things with it. And so to go back to like literally the same game, but like they like I don't know, kind of changed the lighting engine a little bit. And, like they unlocked the camera, which is like an interesting creative decision that like changes some things about like the way you're going through the game. But it does seem like it was a miss. This Ballistic Moon remake of Until Dawn that to me is very much it screams, we want this to be on store shelves and in people's minds and available on PS5 when the movie comes out. Which it feels very transparently like a marketing decision. You didn't get the original team back for it. You didn't get you didn't put a lot of effort into this. This isn't a sequel. Like this is like, oh, we just kind of found this team to like, kind of do Until Dawn to put on PS5.
Yeah.
And then
it's just like, of all the PS4 to PS5 games, I think that's the most questionable. Until Dawn's good. It's just, did it really need a re-release? You're totally right. They just did it so it would be on store shelves when the new movie comes out. But I don't even really know, because if you think about it, if you go on PSN, you search Until Dawn, the PS4 copy would come up.
True.
It's not like people are buying hard copies that much anymore.
True.
So how much does that really matter? You could have just done like a patch or something. I don't know. That seems weird. I think have put so much into it.
Yeah.
And for it to be a miss, technically, that makes it even worse.
And we haven't seen the film yet, but we're starting.
Sounds good.
Yeah, could be cool. But we're in an interesting place. And also another thing is, it's rumored that Firesprite is making an Until Dawn sequel that even could release this year. And so it just feels like a very much a brand synergy thing. You get a PS5 spine, you get that PS5 icon. You can put the Until Dawn key art on like a front page of your PS5 with the movie's coming out, and go watch the trailer now and get excited for the Until Dawn sequel coming out soon. Like catch up on the game in this beautiful PS5 version, but then it's not really. I don't know. It's an awkward one, but it's also like at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? It came and it went, and it also very much came and went. Like Steam charts and stuff, like people really did not care.
Yeah, I was looking at it had 2,600 was the peak for this game, so that's got to be the lowest outside of Concord for a Sony game, except for maybe Sackboy.
Except for yet, we haven't gotten there yet.
Was that a lower peak? Oh yeah,
absolutely it was.
Yeah.
And also, just crack 1,000 concurrent on Steam.
429. So I just checked. But Until Dawn also had the disservice. Maybe this would have changed things a little bit. I maybe would have tried it out. Came out I think 2 days before Silent Hill 2. PS5 exclusive game.
Yeah, that was weird. It was really, really strange.
That's weird to do. Maybe Sony doesn't control when Silent Hill 2 comes out, but they certainly controlled when Until Dawn came out.
True.
They did not need to do that.
Yeah.
So
they honestly could have put that game out in
like January.
Yeah,
like right now.
February. Yeah,
right, put that thing out right now. Yeah, that'd been perfect.
Not February. It's gonna be busy. But like, yeah, if that had been a January game, a couple months later as the movie.
Actually, you know what? If it came out in January, I probably would have played it.
You would have, yeah. And it also probably would have been a better game with another 5 months of development. So
Thanks, Sony.
Unfortunate.
They had to get it out for Halloween. They just had to, They couldn't resist.
It's spooky. You can't put a spooky game out any other time.
The original came out in like July, I think.
Yeah, but also like Resident Evil games, horror movies come out all across the whole course of the year.
Hey, Resident Evil used to be an October thing. To be fair,
back in the day,
pre-Renaissance, yeah.
On October 18th, the Spider-Man 2 PC port was announced. It is now out as of a couple days ago.
Apparently, that's not very good.
Yeah, whatever. They'll fix it.
Fine. Yeah, they'll fix it.
It doesn't bother us. We already have the game. We already played it.
Yeah.
And then on the 29th, Firewalk and Neon Koi are shut down. We have not talked about Neon Koi too much thus far. It's because they never put out a game. They were the mobile studio for Sony. And now that's never going to happen.
Well, wasn't there like a Wipeout like manager game? I don't know if it was Neon Koi, but there was like a Wipeout game or something that was gonna got announced. I think for mobile.
No, it came out.
And did it come out?
Yeah, and it got like removed. Like, it's just like no one
cared.
That was another like thing where they lent the license out.
Oh, sure, okay, yeah. Mobile is something that I think Sony just kind of gave up on. Like they tried for like they like talked about it in a couple of investor meetings, and now they're just like not even. Gonna pursue it.
It does feel like last year was kind of like them trimming down to like, all right, these things we were experimenting with, not anymore.
No more. Yeah, waste of money. I mean, even Nintendo doesn't really do mobile stuff now. They have the stuff that they have going on, and they'll update it. But I mean, when was Mario Kart Tour the last Nintendo mobile game?
Pikmin Bloom.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but still,
that's just a reskin.
3 years. Yeah, that's true. That was also 3 years ago. So.
The tour was that was 3 years ago. Tour, I'd say, was the last significant one.
Yeah.
Of like, this is a unique game, and that was what, 2019?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
So yeah, they're done.
Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered released. We talked about that. Seems to be really impressive. Another one where you can buy it for like a $10 upgrade. Really cool. If I ever play that game, that's how I play that game again. That's definitely how I'll play it.
Yeah.
In November, PS5 Pro released.
Cool.
You bought it.
I bought one. It's neat.
Have you felt like it was like you're like, yeah, like I'm glad I got.
Well, I haven't played Rebirth yet, so no, not really. Silent Hill 2. I mean, I didn't play Silent Hill 2 on PS5, but I know people are saying there's some issues with that. I didn't notice any issues with Silent Hill 2, so maybe that, I don't know. I haven't really played that many like. I played Fantasian on my PS5. That's not gonna. I'm not gonna see a big boost with that. Dynasty, actually, you know what? And once again, it's hard to compare because I didn't play it on base PS5. But Dynasty Warriors Origins, very impressive game visually. A lot of enemies on screen.
Yeah.
Never experienced a slowdown. So maybe there's not a slowdown on base PS5 to begin with, but
well, is that also one that has a specific PS5 Pro version? Because there are
there is a boost. It's I think it. I want to say on PS5 Pro that's the only way to play it at 4K 60. So that's nice.
Okay.
That's actually pretty.
Yeah. But I agree. I'm with you on people overreacting to PS5 Pro and like it being so expensive. Everything's like, guys, all these games are fine they're great on PS5. I'm never gonna get a Pro. I'm never gonna notice.
No, you'll never.
And it also like games aren't being designed for it yet, so like we're not taking advantage of that hardware yet. So it's whatever.
My thing is, and maybe this is like a stupid thought process, but I definitely don't think PS6 like stock will come with the disk drive. I'm not even convinced it will have the option to have a disk drive. So for PS5 Pro having a disk drive, I was saying to my girlfriend, like, honestly, this thing might never get unhooked. This might be a console that I literally always have plugged in.
Just because
if the PS6 doesn't have a disk drive. Yeah. So
interesting.
I was like, I'll just invest now. I mean, I play PS5 more than anything. That might change this year a little bit with Switch 2, but I was like, you know what? I love my PS5. I'll give it the upgrade it deserves.
Yeah. The 1 week later, Lego Horizon Adventures comes out, and this is
what a stupid fucking decision to sandwich 2 Horizon games in a 3-week span. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was crazy.
That is because like people were already like the Horizon fatigue set in back like when you said Forbidden West came out, which isn't fair.
No.
But then you had the VR game, and then this year you had not only did you have Forbidden West on PC, you had Horizon 1 on PC and Lego Horizon Adventures
also on PC.
pump the brakes.
Yeah. Well,
chill out.
Too bad because it seems like we might be getting
another one this year.
Co-op game this year. Yeah. So
and then by that point, maybe next year you see Horizon 3 get announced. It'll have been
True.
4 years. Yeah.
True. Yeah, and the MMO, if that's not canceled, that's somewhere in the mix.
And then Horizon 2 remastered on PS6.
The movie's got announced.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Like a Horizon, and then Horizon Zero Dawn will get announced for Switch 2. Basically, Horizon will never not be talked about.
Yeah. So buckle in, people who have been whining.
Call them out in PC port. Get ready.
Hey, that's not happening.
Nah, they're not gonna do that.
Well,
no.
Actually, one thing that happened last year I didn't put on here is that they did make PSVR 2 compatible with.
Yeah, that
PC.
was a cool we're done with this. Here, you can just do whatever you want. Moment, I would say.
You can have it.
Yeah, you can have
it. Functionality to it to the poor bastards who bought it, like Caleb.
At least he opened it finally.
He did, yeah. But Lego Horizon Adventures came out, and this is a interesting one because this is the kind of thing that I want to see, like basically everyone other than Nintendo do more of. It's just like fun, small side project, spin-off game, not a huge investment, like trying a different little genre. This feels like this is to me what Nintendo doing like their weird like another code reboot, like Famicom Detective Club. It's like we're trying a little smaller side thing, like we're not putting all our eggs in one basket, but like it appeals to a different niche, like it covers some bases.
I do think, it being on Switch certainly helps, but I do think it's a little odd that, the last family game we got from Sony was Sackboy in 2020.
Yeah.
And then we get Astro Bot and Lego Adventures back to back. It's weird that they were literally 2 months apart.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that, yeah. But the great thing about Lego Horizon Adventures, and frankly, the great thing about Until Dawn Remake as well, and even Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, is these are perfect, like, stocking stuffer bargain deal Sony games where it's like, ooh, these are like Sony things. This is a PS5 like first party games, and I can get them for $20. Yippee! And like they're all good games. They're all fine games. But it definitely feels like one that is designed to be a PlayStation Studios game that's for a little bit of a cheaper market of like someone who can get this on sale very quickly, like it because their first party games do go on sale. I do actually think their PS5 like marquee games haven't been going as quick deep.
They've been holding their value a little bit more, like Nintendo does, yeah.
Versus PS4, where it's like
PS4 was crazy. God of War was like $10 that Christmas.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
But
I do wonder if Lego Horizon Adventures had been like 40, like Ratchet 2016 was, maybe that would have helped it a lot. Actually,
well, let me double check that it.
On retail, 60. It was 60. It was 60.
Okay,
it was 60.
Okay.
Yeah, I checked.
Yeah,
so if it had been 40 to begin with, obviously now it is. You can get it for like 30.
Yeah.
But on launch, $40 Christmas game, might have done quite a bit better.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I don't know why they thought that it was something they needed to position as like a full retail $60 release.
Yeah.
Though to be fair,
70 is the price.
Versus
yeah, 60
70,
is the discount.
So it technically is already the cheaper version. What other like less than $70 games have they done this generation?
Sackboy was 60. That was also it was weird because like
Miles
Horizon Forbidden West. Right.
Yeah.
The PS4 stuff's weird because like GT7 and Ragnarok and Forbidden West were 60 on PS4.
It's true.
And then the PS5 version was 70, so you're paying more. And then, but even though I think for some of those the PS4 version just had the PS5 upgrade for free.
Yeah, that's what
it's really just
with me and Forbidden West. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird.
I think Destruction All Stars was 30 new.
I think it was 20.
20 new? No fucking way.
No, I think it was.
Really? Like if I search PlayStation Store.
That game's still available. That's crazy. Yeah, it's 20. Well, at the very least, it's $20 now. I'm pretty sure it was 20. Well, it was free on PS Plus, and then I think it went to 20.
PlayStation Store.
Because I bought it physically pretty soon after launch, so that would have been 20. Yeah, I think it was 20. Yeah, lowest price digitally 20. This is a Reddit thread from 3 years ago. So
it just keeps telling me.
I'm sure they had
PS Plus. I'm like, no, I want to buy it.
Yes, that was 20. Dreams, well, that was PS4, but that was 40. Yeah, they don't really do much experimenting.
Concord was 40.
Yeah,
Astro
so and Helldivers.
60.
Astro was 70, wasn't it?
No, 60. And Until Dawn was 40.
Until Dawn was definitely 50.
Or 50. My bad. Look, all these numbers, like at a certain point, it's fucking arbitrary.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
They're all the budget number. 30 to 60.
They're all under 70.
Yeah. And as we wrap up the year here in December, my first Gran Turismo is announced and comes out 2 days later, which is like kind of a demo.
You're the
for
first person to talk
GT7.
about this in the video. No one's ever talked about this. No one cares about this.
I think it's a really weird thing, but again, it adds to the pile of 2024 was so fucking weird for Sony. It was so strange, man. All these weird nonsense games and announcements and things. What the hell is my first Gran Turismo? Like, we are looking down the barrel of like 5 or 6 things that happened this year that are like weird tidbits.
Now, my first Gran Turismo, it's literally a GT7 demo, right? Or is it actually, there's like unique, is there anything unique in it other than the logo and title screen?
I don't know.
My understanding is that's literally just a demo, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, but we never played it.
It doesn't matter.
We both added it to our library just now.
Yeah, I did not add it.
Oh.
I'm not going to play that.
What if it gets delisted? They don't want to have it.
I don't care.
You regret it. I don't know. I really don't know that much about it. I'll do a little bit of research. I should have done it before, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then
Sony can.
Closing out the year at the Game Awards with Intergalactic closing the show. We'll talk about that in a second. But also within that showcase, because I am covering my bases, Last of Us Part 2 PC port, or remastered PC port was revealed. I don't remember when that's coming out, but it's
April
coming out at some point.
It comes out right when the show starts.
Oh,
Season 2.
That's pretty smart. And also, well, Midnight Murder Club had a trailer in the Game Awards.
Get excited.
And then people found out afterward that Sony Interactive Entertainment is publishing this video game.
Yeah, I texted you like, dude, Sony's publishing this, and you got so excited. You were like, "What? No way!" Like you're so gassed up for Midnight Murder Club.
Well,
this comes out in February, right?
Well, there's a beta. I believe there's a beta or an early access.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We don't have an official release date for it yet. It's interesting to me because I don't know. As far as I can see, it seems to be a fine game. It's Velen Studios, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, Mario Kart Tour or Home Invasion.
Home Circuit, yeah.
What do you call it? Yeah.
But I don't really know that much about it. I am interested in trying it. It seems like something that we either a beta or something will be free with PS Plus, so I'll be able to like mess around with it. But it's another tidbit. It's another interesting thing. It's weird that they didn't put like any PlayStation marketing on this. Like there wasn't the PlayStation Studios logo, but it didn't pop up before the trailer at the show. There might have been like Sony Interactive Entertainment in the fucking like fine print.
Well, and I think that's what's interesting about Freedom Wars for me too. It's like Sony isn't like attached to that, but their name is in the copyright.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those another weird little tidbit, like you're saying.
Yeah. But the big thing was they got to close the show with the reveal of the new Naughty Dog game, which it was the 10th anniversary of the Game Awards. Obviously, Jeff has a long history with Sony, and I believe Last of Us was revealed at the first Game Awards.
It was.
And so it's kind of a nice poetic full circle moment. New IP from them, first new IP in 10 years from Naughty Dog.
Sorry to be clear, it wasn't announced at the Game Awards. It was announced at the Spike VGAs because that was before Game Awards even.
True.
Yeah. But Jeff Keighley had the announcement.
Yeah. And this is what closes out the year. And this is another like win for the year. Obviously, had a little bit of controversy tinged to it, but like that's a big deal. We actually do know what the next Naughty Dog game is.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, it's weird. Like I mean, I'm excited about it. It's a cool setting. I like the setting totally. I like the sword she has at the end. That's gonna be sick. It's gonna be interesting to see a Naughty Dog game with like melee combat.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure she'll have some sort of like blaster, right? Like she's gonna have a futuristic blaster, and maybe the majority of the game will actually be gun combat.
Yeah.
But there will definitely be melee combat, which isn't really. I mean, you can like use a 2x4 on enemies and Last of Us, but it's not. Yeah, it's not the main thing there. So I'm excited to see more. I like the like tone.
Yeah.
It's not. People are saying like, oh, it's another Guardians thing. I don't know about that. It's not really. I mean, it's retro future stuff, but I'm not getting Guardians from it.
No.
In that way.
No, I'm not. And I think it also is just an oversimplification. I think it's people looking for reasons to complain. This is a new IP science fiction game.
Yeah.
Like, guys, like, there are only so many avenues you can go down. And every avenue has already been traveled and can be compared to other things. I do think that it being a sci-fi game from Naughty Dog, which we haven't seen them do since, I guess, Jack and Daxter, if you want to be like, that's sci-fi.
That is. I'd say so.
Well, the first game is like
fantasy.
It's like a fantasy sci-fi. Yeah, it's weird, but like you get to Jak 2 and Jak 3. Yeah, it's almost like straight up science fiction. But I think everything about it looks cool. I think that the freaking score.
Reznor Atticus Ross. Yeah,
dude,
that was
a video game score, Bo.
Oh,
are you fucking kidding me? We're gonna listen to that for like 20 hours. That's insane.
Yeah. Big deal.
The like use of color I think is really remarkable.
The anime at the beginning.
Yeah, the visual design, I think the visual language is really clear and really bold. And then what they were saying afterward about the fact that they have been working on this with a team for years alongside The Last of Us Online. I think it's sooner than a lot of people do, but that's just me being hopium-pilled, I guess.
I don't think so, man.
I think it's next year, just to be clear.
There's no shot. It's next year, I don't think. I think this is a late 2027 at the earliest game.
We'll see.
I hope I'm wrong for your sake.
But also Neil Druckmann was talking a little bit about how this is them taking a little bit of inspiration from things like FromSoft and Cowboy Bebop, and like, oh, dude, you're taking inspiration from two really good places for that, and like,
yeah,
I have no doubt this is going to be the best game of the generation. Personally,
for PlayStation, sure, yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be up there,
yeah. So, great way to end the year. I do think that in terms of it being sort of poetic, that this is ending the like 10th anniversary of the Game Awards. It makes sense to reveal it there. We talked a little bit earlier about how it would have been really cool to see this revealed in a state of play. That would have certainly brought up the energy for. I mean, it would have been a showcase at that point if you're announcing a new fucking Naughty Dog game. But I'm glad that it happened, and a good note to end the year on.
I'm also glad for Okami's sake, because I think if Okami was the ender, that would have made a lot of people angry.
Yeah.
But now Okami just gets to be this awesome extra thing that just happened. You know, it's not actually the ender, but it kind of was.
Yeah.
You know,
we thought it was
for a little bonus. Yeah.
So that is PlayStation's 2024. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of everything in between. And I will be taking notes and keeping a little bit closer eye on what happens in 2025. And maybe I'll do like a mid-year check-in or something like that, just so don't have to do this whole big-ass thing. But I'm fascinated by what happened last year.
Yeah, it's cool because 2024 overall, solid year. You had some Stellar Blade, Rise of the Road, and Astro Bot, Until Dawn, I guess, all these PC ports. But going into the year, we didn't really know much.
Yeah.
Even Concord, we didn't know was coming out. So we went into 2024 basically completely blind. We were like, maybe Death Stranding 2 will come out. Going into 2025, we know Death Stranding and Ghost of Yotei are coming out.
Yeah.
With hopefully potential for more. It feels like we're in a really, I mean, we are in like a very bad spot with all the cancellations and stuff and all the layoffs, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
You know, what's his name? Hideaki Nishino.
Yeah.
He's in charge now. Hopefully he will steer the ship the correct direction.
Hopefully.
And we will see Sony back to where it should have been, maybe like 2027.
Yeah.
They're like back in full swing with what they should be doing and focusing on what they should be doing. I don't think the layoffs or the cancellations are done yet. I think there's still probably a couple more studios and games that will be canceled, and that'll happen throughout this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we have some games to be looking forward to, and hopefully, I mean, Venom's one that will probably come out this year if that's still happening, and I'm sure it is. So
yeah,
Venom, Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2, not a bad lineup.
No, I mean, well, and if you expand it even further with a couple things that are rumored.
Lost Soul Aside, you're so excited for Lost Soul Aside, Tucker. You're so excited. I
actually am. It does look good, and I do think that it's going to be the Stellar Blade of this year, not in terms of controversy necessarily, but like new IP, new studio, the Sony published game. I think like fidelity wise looks excellent. We don't really know too much about it, but I think it's like I think people aren't excited for it because it's a new IP that we haven't heard a lot about. But Stellar Blade was in a similar situation, a year ago, and now that's something that people really appreciate. And so I do think that's going to be a surprise hit because a lot of people don't know that it's happening. But so
no, because Stellar Blade, like I didn't really know about Lost Soul Aside until you were telling me about it.
That's true.
Stellar Blade was in a lot of showcases.
Yeah, it was.
Also, so I don't know if it will be the same. If it's in the next state of play, gets a big push in that, then certainly.
Yeah.
But if it's not in the next state of play, then that's definitely.
That's a good point.
Weird.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing with it, but so we got Death Stranding 2 on the beach, Ghost of Yotei, Lost Soul Aside. I count Midnight Murder Party, but that's an extra thing. Obviously, MLB still happening, and then the rumors of Venom, the Horizon co-op game, and then also rumors of it being announced, but this Project Ooze game that's coming from Sumo is supposed to be announced sometime soon. We could see like an actually really full year this year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Maybe we'll finally see Wolverine.
And
not release, obviously, but maybe see it.
We fucking better see it.
If we don't see Wolverine this year, that is crazy.
No,
well, I mean, I already seen quite a bit of it, but you know what I mean.
Yes, in official capacity. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for talking about Sony's 2024. We'll be back in a year.